Hello and welcome to the Simone Bailly Show. I'm your host. If this is your first time to the show, welcome. I'm an actress from TV and film, and you may recognize me as Sergeant Cross's police partner in the video game Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005. Today, I have a very special show for you. I have assembled an all-star panel today with the writer and the visual effects art director from Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005 and other Need for Speed games from the beloved franchise. Not only that, but Sergeant Cross himself will be joining us. And we have celebrity guest YouTubers LP-Ripper 24 and KuruHS. This is the Need for Speed reunion episode. Before I bring everyone on, a quick shout out to all the fans around the world. Last show we had over 25 countries tune in to watch the live stream. And I know it's different times all over the world right now. And I appreciate you being here for this special event. We've never seen anything like what you're about to see today. So thank you all for tuning in. Huge shout out to all my new subscribers. I love you. Thank you. And before we get started, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to my channel, and be sure to share this stream so others can enjoy this as well. All right, are you guys ready? It's time now to bring on this insanely awesome panel. I am so excited. First up, I'd like to introduce my dear friend and on-screen partner, actor Dean McKenzie. Hey, he was in, fans will recognize him as Sergeant Cross from the Need for Speed franchise. He was in Need for Speed Payback, Need for Speed Carbon, and Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005. If it were up to him, everyone would get a pinstripe. Please welcome the man gamers love to hate, actor Dean McKenzie. Hi, Dean.
Hey, Simone. How you doing, partner?
I'm real good. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Well, you know, I had nothing better to do on a Super Bowl Sunday, so.
It's all good.
You know, hey, you call, you know I'm going to come. You know,
yes.
I'm running. You know.
Next up, I would like to welcome the writer of Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005, Adrian Vershinin. Let's bring him on. Hello. Hi, Adrian.
Hey.
Welcome to the show. Pleasure to have you. He's the man that created some of the most iconic lines from the game. Adrian was the writer, creative producer, and voiceover director on Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005. He's written 3 Need for Speed games: Need for Speed, Need for Speed Underground, and Need for Speed Most Wanted. He's been a writer on many other video games, including Star Wars Battlefront, Immortal Unchained, 5 different Battlefield games, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, Black, Medal of Honor, and the list goes on and on. Very excited to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. Dean, nice to see you again.
And you, sir. God. Another life.
I know, right? It feels like another life ago.
Through the power of the internet, I had the privilege of meeting our next guest, who is a celebrity in the gaming world. Joining us live from Austria is YouTube and Twitch streamer KuruHS. For those of you who don't know, Kuru is a racing enthusiast from Vienna who plays mostly racing games, and I think it's safe to say we may have a good idea which Need for Speed game is his favorite right now. What game is that, Kuru?
It might be Most Wanted, but I'm not sure.
Oh, there it is. Sweet. I'd like to introduce another very special guest on the show today. Joining us is 2-time Oscar nominee Habib Zargarpour. We have this man to thank for the incredible visuals that made up the look and design of Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005. Habib was instrumental in crafting 3 Need for Speed games: Need for Speed Underground, Most Wanted, and Nitro. He served as senior art director at EA from 2000 2002 to 2009. He also served at George Lucas's company, Industrial Light and Magic, for many years. He now works on huge blockbuster movies like Blade Runner 2049, The Bourne Identity, and Jon Favreau's The Jungle Book, to name a few. Awesome to have you back.
Thank you. Thanks. It's awesome to see everybody.
Woohoo!
Goodness, Dean, Adrian.
Good.
Saving the best for last is our other celebrity guest. He's a racing game fanatic and has a highly successful YouTube channel. Please give a warm welcome to my new friend, LP-Ripper 24. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Simone. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Yeah. I am so excited to have you all here today. Welcome to the Need for Speed Most Wanted reunion episode. We are missing one person, which is our director, David Footman. David had to cancel very last minute because he is driving in the snow with his family and has to get them home safely before the roads closed. He's in Eastern Canada right now. So he sends his love to all the fans and apologizes for not being here today. So David, if you're listening, please drive safe. And I do want to hear from all of you, and we'll also be taking some questions from the live chat a little later. So firstly, how is everyone doing?
We're doing good. We're ready.
Yeah.
Dutch going to the moon, baby.
I'm waiting my turn to speak so we don't speak over one another, right? So.
No, jump right in.
I just had my 6-hour stream, so what is another 3 or 4 hours?
You just had a 6-hour stream?
Yep. Pretty much.
Every day, right, Kuru?
Pretty much 6 out of 7 days. I need a day off.
Wow.
Really?
Oh my God, you are. There's a reason why you're
It's
Kuru.
a full-time job.
It is. And the thing is, the more you work, the more you grow. It's super simple in that regard. If you just put in the time and you do it right, then you're just going to grow faster.
I was actually going to ask you that, Kuru. How often do you stream? Do you have a set schedule or do you freestyle?
Well, usually I start at 3 p.m. That's Central European time, and goes on for usually about 6 or 7 hours, and that's 6 days a week.
Wow.
Wow.
It's a lot of work. It's dedication. You got to be dedicated, guys.
Yep.
No,
It's fun though. It's fun though. If you don't have fun, you can't do it that much. At least I don't think you can. I don't think you can torture yourself so much that you actually do that much work and not enjoy it at the same time. I don't think it works. It can only work if it doesn't feel like work, right?
Yeah.
The moment it becomes a chore, I don't think you can do it.
My man, speaking.
So you know
right
what you're
there.
talking about when you say there's a lot of dialogue in the game. Firsthand.
Yeah, I heard pretty much every line, at least that made it to the final game.
His live streams have all these sounds that play and little logos of Most Wanted. It's hilarious. You guys have to go check them out.
Yeah, I've seen a few, but I haven't seen them all. So I still have to go down the KuruHS
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of my
rabbit
viewers
hole.
have not seen all of them.
Kuru, don't you have also a whole version of Most Wanted dedicated to something themed around what you do?
Oh yeah, so that happened fairly recently. At the end of last year, we released basically a meme mod, which basically, makes fun of internet culture and Most Wanted at the same time and brings them all together. And it includes a lot of Twitch memes, YouTube memes, just pop culture memes, and it is combined with Most Wanted and also a big part of my own channel. And luckily, EA did not pull the plug on that one. But in general, EA is actually super nice regarding mods of their old games in general, because they could pull the plug anytime they wanted to, but they actually stand behind the community in that regard. So I'm very happy about that. And if you ever want to look it up, it's called the Pepega mod. And the word Pepega is one of the most popular emotes on the Twitch platform. And it is basically an emote. It's a face, and everything revolves around that. And that is where the name comes from. Yeah, at this point, I got to give a very big shout out to my YouTube editor, Eden, because he was the reason that mod was made in the first place. He started working on it, and it was such a great project that everyone just jumped in and they all worked together and they made a huge mod out of that. And it's still in development. There's going to be updates in the future. And yeah, big shout out to him and the entire Pepega mod team, because that game is pure fun. All right.
Kuru, we have Simone is so big. Pepega, I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but this mod is so big now that major YouTubers with over 1 million subscribers have played this mod and have made this mod and helped it trend more. So we're not talking about, channels from, 10,000 to 100,000. We're talking about multi-million channels that are loving what Kuru started here.
Yeah,
Wow.
nice work. That's
Impressive.
awesome. That's
that.
really cool. Yeah, and also companies like EA must be so thankful to you to be their hype man. You and LP, really. I mean,
anyone really that is still behind, the racing franchise is good in my book,
They doubled down this year. They doubled down, Kuru. So I know Kuru attended their event last year, 2 years ago for Need for Speed Heat. And now what he's doing is, he's one of the EA game changers, I believe, right, Kuru?
Yep.
Yeah, so every time there's a new Need for Speed game that comes out, Kuru is one of the ambassadors, and he gets to go firsthand and share the content with the family. So for sure, huge shout out to what he's done.
so do they send you materials like the game right away?
Yeah,
or
both. I mean, now during COVID, it's not going to happen. But usually, for the last game for Need for Speed Heat, they invited us all over to the UK to play test the game in person, record our own gameplay, and then allow us to make our YouTube videos with that made content.
Wow. And are they open to feedback that you have? I guess it's a little late though.
It's too late. It's late for that. Maybe last minute things, but mostly it's stuff for the next game, because the game is already at a stage where they can't change too much. And they're definitely happy for some feedback, just so they can see how is the game received by us directly, by the people that have the most reach to the Need for Speed fans. But generally, we're mostly there to get our feet wet and get the game and make our content and share it with everyone.
That's right.
Wow.
That's the major thing.
That's right.
So Adrian and Habib, did you guys do that with EA, where you would get feedback from people?
I mean,
Not so much back in the day. I think it was most testers, right? In-house testers.
I get feedback
In-house.
from everybody. Everybody wants the feedback. Everybody wants to tell me how to fix it or what to do or what they just saw that was super cool that they want to get in it. And
But that was all within the team, right? Not from outside.
yeah, no, I think if I recall, I mean, I know that at one point they had brought in a bunch of people, and it may have been early enough that they were able to tweak some stuff, but not typically. It's not typically something that would happen. Yeah.
Yeah, but usually mostly near the end.
Yeah.
How many hours went into writing the script, Adrian? I'm sure there was.
I'm going to stay positive here. I was, the actual story was, I think if I recall correctly, the 18th iteration. So before the story you all saw in Most Wanted, we went through 17 other possibilities of what the story could have been. Yeah.
Oh, we want to hear more about that.
Yeah, I want to hear how does it work? Is the Wizard of Oz at EA I'm feeling the need for speed. I think I want to, show me some Need for Speed games. Or how does it work?
I've spent thousands of dollars on therapy to forget those 17 iterations. But no, okay. Well, how would it work? I mean, it starts off with a team coming. I mean, they already know what's going to happen. As one is releasing, they may already have another team ramping up, right?
Uh-huh.
And when I first got on with EA, I was the first writer they hired internally full time, and got the creative producer title. And by that time, they'd already started doing a lot of things. They had a general idea of what was going to happen. And then they said, okay, look, how do we want to wrap this with the story? And then that's when they let me loose and said, okay, let's start coming up with stuff. And, I wanted to do something unique and interesting. And so the one came out, and then, the major stakeholders, the executive bench looks at it and they say, well, what about another one? And then another one, and then another one. And then of course it's interesting, like they do listen to people like LP and Kuru, right? Like you guys may not know this, and you may not come in and say, hey, let me see, what do you guys think? But they watch and they look and they keep in touch with what the community is saying.
Yeah, here's a question for you. Why isn't there any direct communication? Like, why don't they actually like get into a talk with us and actually talk about what they're planning with the game, what they want to do, and like what's next in the plan and what do we think about it? Because one thing I can tell you is we as the YouTubers and the influencers, we know exactly what the people are liking right now, what they're watching right now, what they're really interested in, and what they're still coming back to 10, 15, 20 years later to certain games and what they liked in those games. And I always wanted to have like that supportive role where I just tell them, this is what people like right now. This is what people still like. And they would like to see that again. But I feel like that information is just missing in the game development part. And I was always wondering, why don't we have that communication directly with the development team? Because we build our career creating content about the things that the people still like. And then, you know, every single day I get people in here, why don't we get this again? Why don't we get that again? Why is that not a thing anymore? And it happens all the time on a daily basis, multiple times.
Well, first of all, I'm not with EA anymore. After Most Wanted, I worked on another game called Black, and I did a rewrite.
That was a shooter,
for that.
right?
Yeah, that was a shooter. Yeah. So that's another really good story about how that landed on my lap. But after that, I actually went external, and I started pursuing film and TV and stuff like that. And since then, so probably around 2006, I haven't been internal to a studio. I just go from studio to studio. So I don't work for EA directly anymore. And so I can't say, oh, here's the answer why they don't do that, right? What I have noticed working for smaller studios and bigger studios is they all sort of treat it their own way. Sometimes it's very, you know, there's an internal reason why they can't do that. They specifically don't do that for certain reasons. And what I realized was it's usually the smaller studios that are like, hey, let's talk to those guys and the gals out there and just see, like, who are these, like, what are they saying? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? Or they'll go and research, right? Why specifically they don't, I don't know. They never, I'm not the one who makes that decision.
Well,
actually,
maybe I can shed some light on that.
Yeah.
Having both on films and games. It's complicated. Some of it's legal. So, you know, if you come up with an idea and then a company implements it, and then you're like, hey, I want my share. You know, there's a lot of like, you know, whose idea was it for taking something? Then there's the problem of who do you listen to, right? You have like someone who's like doesn't want any stories, you know, they just want to race. And there's other people that like the stories, and I went through that battle all the time, you know, pushing to have a story and content. But there's also the kind of director aspect. So if you imagine for a movie, imagine Martin Scorsese opens it up to the public to say how he should shoot a shot, you know? Now, that's completely different because films are a passive experience, and the game is interactive, and it does involve a lot more of, you know, that fun factor. So absolutely, they do need to listen to people. But there's also the pride factor of, you know, whoever is directing a game wanting to like do what they want to do and show, and then wow the audience. The end goal is always the same, right? They want it to succeed. They want it to be great and fun. But it gets complicated to know who to listen to. And then there's, you know, I guess under NDA they could, you know, there's also obviously fear of sharing stuff outside and having it leak. You know, so it's always been like this like top secret group building something and then hoping they did the right thing. And I know, you know, art wise, it was the same for me. You know, it wasn't like anybody I could bring from the outside and go, what do you think of this style? I had to like go with my instincts and hope when it comes out that what I thought looked cool, people agreed with.
Legality is one of the biggest ones, right? Legally, who are they listening to for the IP, and then what kind of feedback, and then how do they pay back for that kind of info and stuff like that. So,
but it makes total sense to set it up that way. You know what I mean?
It's so complex. Sounds like you set up a contract and then it should be fine, right? Like,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If you set up a contract and onboard them early with the caveat that, you know, this is it. This is all you're getting. It's, your ideas are free will.
A lot of times too, like what I recognized, especially at the bigger studios and the big teams, I'm talking teams like with 200 people, 150 people, is you don't really have the freedom to just say, hey, let's call up Kuru and LP and ask them what they think, right? Like that, it's not that simple for an EP to say, let's call up somebody and talk to them. A lot of times there's policies in place at the studio. And what I recognize at some of the bigger ones is the ones who would reach out are either community managers or marketing people. They do all the talking, and then they contact us and say, hey, red is better than blue now. Use that, because we talked to a bunch. Sometimes we don't even know where some of this information comes from. And Habib will know exactly what I'm talking about, where things could change. You work on a specific element, and then all of a sudden, someone like a marketing group will come to you and say, okay, look, we want to change things up, because this is the feed, this is the pulse we're getting from the community and stuff like that. I just wanted to share a story that I don't know how many people know this story. Habib knows it, but I don't know if he remembers it. They actually sent me to New York to hang out with a bunch of racers.
No way.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's so crazy, man.
Yeah.
So many
I hung out with a guy called Taco.
What? Yes.
And so I got
from Breaking Bad.
They flew me to New York, and they said, hey, you're going to get in on this day. Tomorrow morning, a guy called Taco is going to pick you up at the hotel. So take this camera. So I took this camera, and I wait. Next morning, I'm getting ready. I go down. I'm standing in front of the hotel, and a Total Sleeper RX-7 pulls up. Right. I can't remember what year. It was the old body style before the new smaller body style. Right. The one that everybody would mod out and do it. It was Total Sleeper.
An RX-7.
Yeah. So it was red.
Porsche, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I had a red one, and man, that thing sounded like a turbine. It was just divine.
It was crazy.
It's a rotary engine, right? It's not.
Exactly. He pulls up in this sleeper. It was red. The only thing you could tell, he had nice rims. You couldn't really tell that it was anything more than just a regular RX-7, except he had a single gauge on the outside of his car on the hood. Right. And I can't remember what it was monitoring. I don't know if it was monitoring boost or what. I'm not sure what it was, but he pulls up, I get in, and he's got a full roll cage in the car. He's got like the 5-point or the 4-point harness. And I just have the old school seat belt. And I'm like, what the? Hey, can we swear on this, Simone? Are we allowed to swear? So anyway, I get in this car. Yeah, we're in Manhattan, and he says, hey, we're going to go to Queens. We're going to hook up with some other racers. And I said, oh, okay, that sounds great. So we leave the hotel, we drive a few blocks, and then we turn to go onto the Queensbridge, or it goes, I can't remember the name of the bridge. It's a double decker you see in all the films. It goes into Queens and stuff like that, right? So we're coming on, and on the opposite side, and I swear this is a true story, on the opposite side, a whole bunch of NYPD are doing some sort of traffic thing, right? And he comes around the corner, they look over at us, and then he smiles, and I think to myself, oh, fuck, what is he going to do? And he opens this thing up, and he lays a whole bunch of, and as we're driving away, I look over, and I could see a few of them run to their car. And now, so we're on the bottom level going into, I guess it was going into Queens, and he is weaving through traffic. I'm like, holy fuck. And I'm thinking, I'm going to go to jail. It's my first full day in New York. I'd never been to New York before. I certainly had never been with street racers before. And so I'm in this car, we're going through, and then finally I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I got the camera. And so I got the camera as we pull off the bridge. He makes a few turns. He's looking in the mirror the whole time. And he's like, yeah, we're good. And I'm just like, dude, you got to tell me next. The only thing I got was this footage coming up from underneath the dash, and I got to tell you, I was so freaked out. I thought for sure the way he was driving way too fast. Clearly, right? It was him going through traffic, trying to lose these guys, and I guess he was trying to ham it up a little bit to show me what they do, right? And so, I was just like, yeah, that was my intro to New York street racers, to a guy
Adrian,
called Taco.
To add to the story there, I live in Houston, Texas, and Texas is one of the capitals of street racing when it comes to roll racing, drifting, all that good stuff.
Right.
And I used to be I would say a street racer back in the day before I had my kids. I lived a very crazy life before this, and I would go to the meets at night, like at 12 midnight, or and we would meet at one place, one location, then we'd go from that location to a secret location that only a few people knew about. And I didn't do much racing myself because I didn't have the budget to rebuild the cars. But I will get inside the guys with money that will be betting in the races.
Right.
And I'm gonna tell you, the work that you guys did with Most Wanted, even though it's still a video game, it did resemble a little bit of that world, in a very good way, because the cops would show up. And you might think, well, the Fast and Furious films are very inaccurate, but it does happen like that. I remember there was one street race where we, the two racers went off, and soon enough we had a helicopter over us and maybe 30 to 20 cop cars on the way, but we were about maybe 50 cars. So I got lucky. We escaped in one car, but I still saw people getting arrested literally passing by me. And it's such a frightening experience when you think, goodness, tonight could have been my last night in the street. For a long time. So it's an amazing thing that you're mentioning that, because it's real, and it's
but conversely, to add to that even more, I was in Montreal way back in the day when the Earth's crust had just begun to cool, and dinosaurs were still roaming the Earth in certain pockets. A friend of mine, this is Mosport. He's a racer. And it was back in the day when the old Porsches didn't have all the electronics that they have today, because with the old Porsches, if you don't drive them a certain way, your ass is where your nose used to be going around a turn. I mean, you have to be. This guy, David, was a psycho behind the wheel. So it's like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm ashamed to say it. We had been drinking, but anyway, we are weaving through almost empty streets of Montreal at wee hours in the morning. And Habib, it's like you guys were saying with those engines that sound like a turbine. This Porsche engine was just going and just like shifting. So at some point, the cops actually hear us. They don't see us, but they hear us. So here's a white guy and a black guy in a Porsche, white, with the roll cages, the whole thing. Now, I'm just too drunk and stupid to realize just how much trouble we're about to get into. The cops are trying to catch us, but they can't. So finally, they managed to coordinate and stop us. And so as they pull us out of the car, and he's asking in French, like, you're a race car driver? He goes, yeah. And he goes, well, the way you were shifting through those gears, nobody but a race car driver could drive like that. Have a good night in jail. So that's where we went. I ended up in jail. So
you ended up in jail?
Nice.
Dude, that's a story right there, man. I wasn't
driving. But you know what the thing is? It's kind of like,
oh my.
Cross, he was a street racer. I knew it.
Oh, come on. You know the brother's going to jail if he's in the car.
Dark history of
you know I have got to go to jail if I'm in the car. So,
Dean,
it was fun. It was fun.
So we call it's about to happen here in Houston. It's called the Super Bowl street racing. Saying that, it's funny because today is a Super Bowl, but the Super Bowl street racing is about to go down right now. It's called Texas 2K. And pretty much there's a professional race going down, but then after that, people go at midnight and they start racing in different hidden spots around the city, which has been my dream to make a Need for Speed like that, because that's just, professional and then illegal. But anyway, there's cops that are in on the action. There's actual cops that own race cars, and once they're done with their shift, they get out in the street.
You beat me to the story. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, this is getting interesting.
One of the cops comes up to me because I'm a content creator, so I really wasn't doing much street racing. I needed to stay away from the bars to be able to continue making footage of the street racing. So a cop car approaches me on my STI, and he's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing here? Like, we're already watching your activity in the entire street. Those are some really cool cars." I'm like, "Oh yeah, man. What are you?" He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm just recording. I'm trying to capture the action. And the cop car is like, "Okay, well, listen, man. We're all in this together." And then finally, he just says, "But you guys really want to do this around 3 a.m. That's when our shift ends." and then the next shift opens up at 4 to 5. So you guys have about an hour and a half of no monitoring. So the cop car was actually telling us, this is the actual time that you want to tell your buddies to go out in the street and have fun, because there's a specific time when we're coming right back, and then the fun is over.
He gave you a window?
They gave us windows.
Woo!
It was amazing. That night I went home, and I thought to myself, this is the coolest thing that has ever happened to me. Because obviously the streets are empty. There's nobody out there driving in the pitch black night. But it's just crazy to hear stories like that you go back and you tell them now, and you're like, well, I'm not in that world anymore. But that's why we love Need for Speed so much. Adrian, what was it?
So when I went to New York to talk to these guys, I think when they sent me to New York, they said, hey, look, we want to change sort of the vibe of what we're doing on Most Wanted. We want it to be a little bit more realistic. Let's see what they're actually doing out there. So we want you to go and talk to real people doing this stuff, right? And so I went, and when I was hanging with them, they started talking about what actually was going on. And then I got a lot of ideas, but none of those ideas EA wanted to do, because I'm trying to think of how to articulate this so I don't get in trouble, right? So at the time, EA, a lot of people said, oh, why are the cars not getting damaged? Why can't we see the cars damaged? Look, a lot of the manufacturers didn't want their cars to look damaged, plain and simple, right? So there's all these relationships that they're building corporate-wise. As a result of a lot of that dictates what I could write. They're like, okay, that's way too dark. We can't do that. And when I was talking to these guys, they were telling me stuff about what was going on in New York. And I thought, man, this has to be a movie, right? Like I have to write this as a film, right? And they were talking about, police, like NYPD guys, but they wouldn't go around telling everybody they're NYPD, right? Because there was a huge criminal element also in some of the street racing that they did there, right?
Absolutely.
And so, for instance, dudes would show up with a lot of cash, and they would bet like 10, 20, 30, 40,000 bucks on races, because it was money they got doing illegal activity, right? And
that's how they launder it.
And then it would get dangerous to where people start getting involved about, okay, who's, are they fixed? Aren't they fixed? This race isn't just two guys having fun. There's like tens of thousands of dollars on races, right?
Absolutely. It's industry.
Oh yeah, it's huge. And so I was listening to all this, and I thought, man, this could be an awesome Most Wanted story with all these elements, right? But of course, we had to go a different direction because a lot of it was just too dark.
And you don't see 20-year-olds doing this.
No,
this is not a sport for a 15 or 19-year-old that just got out of high school. We're talking about 50 and 60-year-olds and 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds out there in the street risking it at night to be able to make a huge buck.
Can I say something here? So we have a storyline, possibly a treatment or a Bible. We have a visual effects director.
Yeah, right. I hear.
I know where
Anyway, this is going.
We've got a directors, and we've got two other guys that are steeped in the dogma of race.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, if there is a moment for a movie, please.
Dean, Dean, the stories that I heard from these guys and how, I was like, how, I don't understand how nobody's told this story.
Hello? Look, these are how these things happen, just by accident, spitballing on a random Super Bowl Sunday afternoon, and then all of a sudden, am I the only one here who's smelling a ability for a? I'm trying not to be a shameless self-promoter. Goddamn,
I've been telling you this the whole time.
I'm willing to basically put down $100,000 and then key another guy's car in intimidation.
Hey, I just saw a thing. I was watching people's comments, and somebody said, "What did they do when they found out you actually worked for EA and the Need for Speed team and stuff?"
Oh no!
Somebody just asked. They actually knew I came down. They specifically knew I was coming down. But sorry to interrupt your thing. I just wanted to answer that one question. But Dean, you're bang on, Dean. Like I'm like sometimes things just happen for a reason, right?
I'm available.
Yeah. You're in Vancouver.
I'll hop on a plane and come down.
Yeah. Are you in Vancouver, Dean?
I'm in Vancouver right now.
Yeah.
I'm trapped in Vancouver until COVID ends, and then I'm coming down because Habib and I have got work to do. I still have management in LA that I have never met face to face that I was supposed to meet. I had meetings with the studios down there prior to COVID a year and some ago. So yes, I am trapped in this lovely gilded cage by the Pacific, but I get to go skiing every so often, as you can see with my boards in the back. And so as far as being imprisoned in a town's concerned, I'll be okay.
I'm in Vancouver too.
You're kidding.
No, I haven't traveled anywhere in a year. I usually travel a lot, but it's been a year since I went anywhere. Yeah.
What part of Vancouver are you?
I'm in North Van right now.
I'm right downtown by a certain hospital in its shadow.
Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down there. Yeah, by a certain community that is very colorful. Yes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes, we have got to get together.
I'll get your info after.
Okay, Adrian.
Okay.
Habib, are you coming back to town anytime soon?
Yeah, as soon as they open it
we
up.
Shanghaied Simone's show. We're like,
Sorry, Simone.
Well, okay, so we were talking about.
Can you read that?
No.
Let me see. No, close. If you put it closer a little bit more.
What is
By good. No, we can't read it, man.
Adrian Vershinin.
You still have that?
Revision. Yeah, that's the original from the binder, man. And
Wow.
April 22nd, 2005.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, man. How you guys keep all that stuff?
This is the script in the binder.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
There's the lines from Mia, from Dean, from Simone.
Yeah.
So that script was just finished half a year before release.
All the categories.
Yeah, Kuru said that the script, finished a half year before release. Yeah, I mean, I think we were still working on it on the day. On the day of shooting, there was stuff being fixed and tweaked and stuff like that. So yeah.
What made you guys, Adrian? What made you guys go from the regular edition of Most Wanted to the Black Edition? Because that Black Edition was, I mean, if you had the Black Edition, you were one of those like cool kids.
Yeah, that was a good plan between marketing.
I think I think Habib would know more about that. I didn't at that point. I was rolling on to another project. So yeah.
Because the thing is that back in the day, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have social media. So when you found a copy on a retailer of a specific edition of that specific game, so when I found the Black Edition, it was like I found gold. You know, it's like you never saw that edition. It was so rare to find that little black box. You know, funny enough, black box, right? But it was so amazing to have that one extra thing that no one had.
Yeah, I don't know if they, like I said, Habib would probably know a bit better about that. But for me, I mean, I don't know what they changed. They didn't change anything story-wise. I think it was, did they add cars or something? Or
yeah, cars, right? Kuru?
Yeah,
Kuru, you might know that.
3 cars and 1 challenge series event.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, and then the steel case with the
Yeah, of course.
cover.
See, that would be cool for the remaster of 2005 Most Wanted that people would love to see if they did like something epic like that.
NEA, you know what? I don't know. Kuru, what's the limitation? Do you think it's that they don't have the access to the source code anymore, or they don't have the engine, or you think they still have it on their archives?
Well, I'm pretty sure they still have it. They still have it all, and it comes all down to licensing and
So
just
it could be
actually
that?
putting in the work to release it again. And I think in order to actually remaster it, they would have to at least rework the graphics,
And
not
the textures.
not just the resolution and the textures. That's any modder can do that. Any modder actually is doing that. So I don't
Already
think EA is gonna do that. Like I think if they ever pick up a Most Wanted remaster, they are gonna like make an actual graphical overhaul. But in that case, I really do hope that they keep the physics the same, because that's the thing that people remember the most, how the game plays. And if the game plays differently, they're gonna hate it. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Key there, and the thing people should realize is, especially back then, game engines were very, very specific to the game. So each game had their own engine. So FIFA had their own dedicated engine. There's very few games at the time that were using outside engines. And the Need for Speed Most Wanted one was really special because that was the Black Box team and the James Bond team coming together, joining forces. So the guy who wrote the physics for James Bond is the guy who rewrote the physics for the cars, Wes Potter. I'm actually working with him today still. And so then you have all these people tuning all these parameters. Each car had hundreds of parameters. Mark DeVellis, official racer, tuning every car to feel like it does. It's really hard to go back to old code and resurrect it unless you wrote some of it or you know what it was doing. And it may be possible to resurrect old code and just update and enhance the content because the machines are just faster, right? We're talking a lot of improvements to GPUs since, but you would have to kind of operate under that engine, which is very old now, and that's the challenge. To keep those parts of it feeling the same, whereas a lot of EAs moved on to the DICE engine, right?
Yeah, so that makes sense to me. So you would still use the same engine, but basically you'd have the ability to use a lot more polygons because everything is just a lot stronger. So you can basically keep the code the same that made the physics because the engine is the same. The only thing you change is basically change the textures, change the resolution, change the polygons, basically the models of everything. That makes sense to me. So that's how they would do it, right?
It would be one Perforce download, from the database, and there would be they'd have a lot of code to go through. But yeah,
we go from 124 megabytes to what, like 10 gigabytes available?
Yep. Yeah.
Because Most Wanted ran on 124 megs, right? What was it? Or what was it? 34 megabytes? Or how many megabytes was it?
It depends on the platform. So, that was a Xbox 360 launch title, if you guys remember. So that made it the game even harder to make because everything was a variable. So we had no idea. Down to the last minute, we were up-resing and de-resing, textures, and it was really, really tough to make sure, they finalized the hardware and we would know we would fit. But basically, the previous generation was the PlayStation 2 with 32 megs of memory.
32 megs, that's right.
For the whole thing. That's the environment, the cars, the music, the AI. I had 7.5 megs for entire worlds in James Bond. It's not that's just not fair. But you go from that to 512 megabytes on the Xbox 360, and now 8 gigabytes on Xbox One.
Jeez.
So just compare 512 megs to 8 gigs, and probably even more now with the Xbox One X.
Was that the biggest limiting factor, the memory you had to work with?
I think so.
Well, the memory really determined how much polygons and how big a texture you could load, and how much space you had for your music, your animation. The physics needed to run. All of these things, the things that we had to do for PlayStation were inhuman because these guys had to program what part of the disk the data was stored because the outside of the disk would read faster than the inside. Yeah. So there were algorithms to put the stuff that needed access more often on the outside because everything is streamed. At that point, James Bond, we had like a dozen sectors of the environment that we would load and unload based on where you were. It's so much work to do that kind of tuning. It's incredible that it ran at all. So now with the bigger memory, you can just crank up those textures, crank up the polygons, and then the GPU speed is the other factor. And that's orders of magnitude. And what we did between PlayStation and Xbox One to make Most Wanted, I should, next time Simone remind me, I should dig up these before and afters because it was incredible difference as we were up-resing everything to next gen, and everything we up-resed, then you would see what else is left, like fully blatantly in front of your face. Because I remember we're looking at the car, and then this really low-res thing comes into frame, and we're like, what on earth is that? And they're like, oh, that's a leaf texture. We haven't updated the leaf. And it's just like a blob,
Oh my God.
Every single thing had to be touched. It's just, even the physics of how the car went over the sidewalk, because we had it looking a certain amount to look right on a standard definition, and then on a high definition, it looked like it's jumping a foot.
It was funny, I was working a lot with the audio team. As a writer, you're always relegated to work with audio and audio directors and stuff, because but I remember hearing and overhearing, they're not giving us enough disk space, and then so internally on the development team, you'd have art, audio, all, and they would be jockeying for just a sliver more of space on the disk to do their thing, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Back in the day.
The thing about it, when my kids were playing video games prior before I became part of the Need for Speed universe, I always think, these games are really expensive, and all they're doing is just reproducing them in the millions. I mean, geez, why do they have to be so expensive? And then you sit back, and I'm listening to Adrian and to Habib, and knowing Habib and all the work that he's told me over the years that goes into the development of each game, every single little scintilla of and the nuances, and I realize, it's worth it. That's the right price to be. When you're paying almost $100 for a disc for a game, it's right.
If you make another Most Wanted, I'll pay $100. I wouldn't mind.
I'll pay 1,000.
I don't know what
I don't care. Just make it. Just make it.
Well, Kuru, what do you call that? 12-hour shifts for you?
If I open like a donation goal and it's like, hey guys, if I raise $1,000 to make Most Wanted 2, I'll raise $1 million.
Dude. I'll tell you right now, Simone, you gonna be busy if they decide to do MW2? I guess I could pull out a set of keys and come back.
I know, right?
Hey, one of my dreams has always been I'm gonna make sure that the next Most Wanted happens as long as if I win the lottery or someone like funds that dream for me. Like I would do it. Like I'm just gonna stop streaming for a year or two. I'll make that game, then I come back and I'm gonna be perfectly happy. Like I don't care if I can do this, I'll do it.
Do the making of Most Wanted 2.
Yeah, that'll be part of our legacy.
Yeah, at some point we need to explain what happened with 2012 and how that is not 2, right? So I'm not sure you can call it Most Wanted 2.
It's not 2, no.
You know what I mean? Like
that's
just gonna raise a shit ton of controversy.
How about this is a title? Most Wanted Again.
Most Wanted Again, or oh man, gosh, there's so many ideas. There's so many ideas.
Hey, look, we've got time. Okay, it's not as if we're not shut down globally. We've got time to spitball things. I mean,
that's true.
EA.
The money's always going to be there. Just come up with the idea. Somebody will bankroll it.
Kuru, the name alone, I mean, it's got to be worth so many millions. Like just the name alone.
The biggest thing that I can't wrap my head around is why EA is not working on another Most Wanted again. It has been the most sold game and by far the most critically acclaimed game in the franchise, and I can't see that there is just no way there to make another one, that continues the legacy of the game the right way. Not come up with anything new that is like now in pop culture and they try to capture like a new audience and just try to make it new again and really try to capture the soul of the original game. Because I can tell you right now, like of all of my streams, Most Wanted still gets the most viewers. I can play Need for Speed. It's not gonna get as many viewers.
Dude, Kuru, Theo, a channel with 1 million subscribers, makes a video about the Most Wanted GTR and says something about Most Wanted or the next Need for Speed game, 500,000 views.
Yep,
just like that.
Every time.
Blink of an eye.
Every time. Just look on YouTube. Like I would love to just hammer that into the EA publishing team, whoever's responsible, really. Like who comes up with what is the next Need for Speed, right? Like just look at YouTube and what people are actually watching. Just look at what is still interested for the people, right? Like, what are they watching right now, and not what might be like the next big thing, like trying to make another Fortnite, in racing form. It's not gonna work.
Thank you, Kuro. Thank you. You said the line right there, man. That's what I wanted to hear.
You know what? I hear that. I hear that a lot. Hey, let's. You know what you said, Kuro, is like, oh, let's make a Fortnite on wheels. Or, I'll walk into a meeting and somebody will say, this is really hot right now. Let's do that and port it over to this.
Racing.
And yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I'm not part of EA anymore. I have no idea what their plan is, so I can't speak for them. But I've heard it in other areas where they kind of want to ride the success of another genre and turn it into theirs, right?
Yeah, no, that's not. You got to be original, man. You got to be original.
I have all the notes. I have all the notes from my meeting.
See, here's the thing. You can take the successful parts. And the successful part, let's say, of Fortnite or any other big game right now, is the multiplayer part. It's not necessarily like how the game looks and everything. It's just how it all plays together and how much it is actually fun to play. And
exactly.
You can put that into a racing game. You can make a really competitive Need for Speed that people want to play for more than just 1 week. The problem that I have with the most recent Need for Speeds is you play them for a week and then you're done with it because the multiplayer is completely garbage. There is nothing to do. You play it for a bit and then you're done. There is nothing to do. There's no long time reason to play the game. There's nothing. In the newest Need for Speed, they didn't even include a multiplayer mode. You can add your friends and then you can play on the world map together. But you have to, add all your friends to your friend list and then get them all at the same time with you online. Then you can play with your friends. But if I just want to press multiplayer and just play with people around the world, you can't. It is not in the game.
It's not, yeah.
It's not.
It's not. It is tough. It's really tough. It's really tough, Kuru.
Adrian, do you have any insight into why?
Why you can't do the multiplayer on it?
Why would they take it out? Yeah.
You know what? I'm assuming.
I don't.
Okay. The honest. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming that it'll have something to do with the technical side of something.
Adrian, you're right.
Look, bottom line is listen. Let me just quantify what I'm about to say. I don't speak on behalf of any particular developer. However, if there's an opportunity to take something that they look at and they say, hey, this is amazing, plus we're going to make a whole ton of money, they're going to do it. Right? So
yeah, see, that's the thing where I can't follow their actions, what they actually do, because they're not going where the money is. They're not going to the parts of the franchise that were successful. They're trying something new, they're trying something different, and they're definitely not utilizing the things that are relevant right now, which is multiplayer. If you look at the top of Twitch and YouTube, there are certain games that pull the most viewers, that they have the highest viewership, and they're not utilizing it.
Yeah,
they're really not. They're not taking those elements that are successful. They're just they're kind of stuck in a certain way of thinking how to make the game that just doesn't work. And that is why I wanted direct dialogue with EA and even every other racing game studio that I have the pleasure to play their games for like 2 days before I get bored, because it is frustrating at the end of the day.
Kuru? So I mean, I hear you, because it was Habib who actually, a couple years ago, convinced me to get on social media, because prior to that, like I said, I was earth crust cooled. That's when I was young. So technology is just not my thing. The minute I came on and I began to realize just how big Simone and my characters were, how big this game was. The one question that I kept getting from Dubai to like Davie Street was, when are they doing another Need for Speed Most Wanted? Why can't they come back? Why won't they bring you back? Why? And it's kind of like, guys, I am not in the boardroom. I have no idea. I mean, once I finish a character, that's it. I'm gone. I'm on to the next thing. And that's why I never knew how popular Cross was. But I still get that question to this day. why won't they bring back, or why won't they do another Need for Speed, or at the very least, but we answer that, why won't they do a remastered version of that 2005 game that sold over 18 million copies? And I mean, I'm a reasonably educated guy, but I'm still trying to figure this out. And
it's still selling, by the way, Dean. It's still selling. Like it's still out there in the market, dude.
Yeah,
that game is still
get it in stores. Yeah,
if
EA
you can still get it in
Classics.
stores,
Wow.
if you can get it on eBay, it's still selling. People are still buying it just to have memorabilia, like I do back here, like probably
I
Kuru
want
does
it.
too. Like I have it.
wow.
You have the box. You just at least this doesn't even run on Windows anymore, but you want to have it there, just staring at it, having the
Oh,
memory.
you wanna hear a secret trick
but
how to
again,
make it run
it's
on
like,
Windows?
how do you? This is about
I do.
print money. It's like for EA Games to bring back Most Wanted, and I'm sure they could strong arm the rest of the crew to come back in some way, shape, or form. This is a no-brainer. I mean, it's literally, hell, all you have to do is do a print ad with me basically coming out of the shadows saying, I'm back.
Yeah.
And two,
Wasn't there a fan trailer exactly with that?
Yeah, there's a fan
And also one with Razer
trailers.
as well. Also, like I'm back, and it was like a super hype YouTube video. Like over
Yeah.
a
Fan
million
trailers.
views.
They did one with
Windows
what's his name? Derek Hamilton.
really?
Yeah, with cross, no, not cross. Jesus, Derek.
Jesus.
Kuru, help me. What's his name? Kuru.
Razor.
Who you looking
Razer.
for?
Razor. Thank you.
Razor.
Yeah, Razer.
That was
I
Simone,
kept saying
too,
cross. I'm
remember?
like, dude, Dean is right here. But Razor, they did one with Razor, like 3 or 4 trailers with him, and that they have at least 4 million views.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like it's insane.
I mean, again, it just makes
only-
no sense. I mean, this is talk about this is printing money with no effort. I mean, they
Okay,
don't
so
have-
here's the thing. I feel like they keep it back as a last effort. Like if they let's say they bring out the next Need for Speed and it flops, like nobody cares about it. It
Nobody
doesn't
cares.
sell. It's bad. People don't want to play it. Then they bring back Most Wanted to save the series.
They're like, okay, this is the last straw. That's it. If we don't
Yeah.
do this,
That's
it's
how I
done.
see it. I feel like if the next Need for Speed, now that they have Criterion working on Need for Speed again, and nobody likes it, they're like, okay, we tried, it didn't work. Let's go back to the stuff that worked.
Kuru, I almost feel
That's
like
how I
saying,
see it.
don't buy the next Need for Speed, people. I didn't say that, EA. I'm so sorry.
Like, tank
I'm
the
gonna buy it, okay.
franchise. What? That's like what? So you're going to basically tank the season to get a higher draft pick?
Man, I mean, it's so simple though. Like we talked about it so many times, and I know it can be all fun and games, but dude, it's like it's been 15 years.
Yeah,
Like
it's overdue, isn't it?
Like it's overdue, bro. Like look at all these other films that are coming out right now that are getting remade because they want to introduce a new audience to the franchise, but then they want to please this old school fans that are diehard fans of the franchise and the actors. Kuru, there's so many movies right now being The Matrix, dude. When was the last Matrix?
Right.
Yeah, like 10 years ago, right?
10 years ago. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, if we make another Matrix, we're gonna blow up the charts and we're gonna get a ton of views, right? And purchases. It makes sense.
Well,
Dude, you make another Most Wanted, you bring back the old characters and you bring in some new characters, some the same original blood and some fresh blood into the franchise. Dude, you're talking about 20 million. Because now the thing is that the market that Most Wanted had was 15, 18 million back in the day without social media. But if you bring in Most Wanted to the market with the 15 million plus a new market with social media, the power of social media, you are unstoppable.
Yeah, and the market itself is a lot bigger too. It was still plenty stigmatized being a gamer in 2005. Like I got
They were
it
like,
in
"Oh,
school
you
all
play
the
video
time. Oh,
games."
you're
Like,
playing video games. You're wasting your time from my parents, from my grandparents all the time. Like that has gone away too. Like
from what
I
I
think
understand,
there's just only one way up, and that is one way, and that is up. You know.
Yeah,
Somebody please send this to EA, please.
2005 back in the day, you weren't dating if you were a gamer.
Pretty much, yeah.
I wasn't.
True
I
for
was
me.
maybe 14
True for
years
me.
old, Kuru. I was like 13.
Yeah.
I was 13 years old. Like, oh
Well,
my God,
I was 16, so for me it's a little bit more embarrassing. But yeah, it's true.
Oh man, I'm sorry, Kuru. I'm sorry.
Hey man, that's
cool.
how it is. That's how it is. So
But But you know what? If again, I still don't get it. And the thing is, we're still all around. And from what I understand, most of us, the characters that were in that game in 2005, have all kept ourselves in pretty decent shape and are still in the industry. So it's not a stretch for them to come reach out and go, let's get the band back together again. Let's propose some new material. God, let's do an Eagles reunion tour. Hell freezes over and just put in a few new songs and then slow down Hotel California and make it more acoustic. And boom, we're touring for 3 years. We've made another $400 million US.
By the way, Dean, I was talking to the agent for Emmanuel Vaugier. You remember Emmanuel from Carbon?
Emmanuel Vaugier.
Emmanuel Vaugier.
Oh, yeah.
Did I say it wrong?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was talking to her agent, and she was in Carbon, and she remembers that very clearly. She loved what she did with Carbon, and these are people that have moved on, and again, they're very successful like you guys, but yet they have that connection. These actors that are like, there's a special connection to that I feel like, why was someone that has moved on 15 years later say back, you know what? Yeah, I kind of miss that. I kind of miss it.
Nice personality too. I remember I got on. I was flying a lot back then, and I got into this flight, and got in my seat and coach, and then this woman walked up from first class, walked back, and she's like, "Hey, Habib, haven't seen you." It was her. And she wanted to come say hi.
That's cool that she remembered you.
Very down to earth. Yeah.
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 I also had Darius from Carbon on my interview too, and we asked, if Need for Speed asked him back, would he come back? And he was like, yeah, So that'd be cool. We could definitely have a little Carbon Most Wanted collab.
I think what it is, Simone, is that not many actors, and there's a lot of us globally, but how many actors actually get to do a video game during the course of their career?
Yeah, not everyone.
Not everyone. And maybe some don't want to. I mean, I was hesitant when I got the script for this audition for Cross.
Careful, I'm listening, Dean. I'm listening.
Oh, shit.
Hey, go ahead. Go ahead and tell them the truth, Dean.
Back in the day, I was, yes, a little bit. I'm an actor. I'm not going to model, and I'm not going to do anything other than be an actor. That's what I do. And there was a little arrogance about it. Actors can be a little, So I didn't know anything about video games other than that my kids played them, and that was it. So I get this, and I guess my son knew the Need for Speed franchise, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to do this. And I was just going to, and it's like my kids talked me into doing the audition. And, it's kind of like, okay, anything for the my kids. So that's actually honestly why it is that I had actually done the audition, because I was going to be like, what, a video game? How's that going to, like, I'm an actor. Get the out of here. No.
You nailed that audition. I remember sitting with Mike Mann, and after your audition, we were like, look at each other. We're like, damn.
Mike Mann was the executive producer on the project.
Yeah. But I'm trying to dig up the audition videos.
Oh no,
man!
Oh, come on, no,
your handcuffs and your sexy outfit.
I remember you were wearing a long coat. It was a raincoat, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I remember.
Dean. Simone, I was looking at some of the things. A lot of people are asking questions. I feel bad because I'm like, oh, should I be answering any of these things or anything? But that's a whole other thing.
I'm not getting. Sorry. Comment. Sorry. Yeah. I should look at these things.
Yeah. But what Dean has said is like there's a huge stigma too. I mean, as a writer, the same sort of goes like when we're asked to do certain things. My entire career has been built writing on games, right? I've done a few animated TV things. I did like a web series thing, and I'm now trying to move towards another area. But I mean, I think it's also because from the writing perspective, there's so many people that input, unlike in film and television, right? You're a writer in film and television. There's input, there's notes from studios, there's all that kind of stuff. Nowhere near the kind of input that you get on a game, right? Because each studio has their own way of doing things. There's no union regimenting things or a guild regimenting those things. So as a writer, there's a huge risk too. I mean, you're providing material oftentimes that at the end of the day isn't entirely all yours, but you're going to either, be praised or hang on it, right? So, yeah, I mean, and that's why I think there's some people that, they'll say, oh, well, how come this writer's not doing it? Or how come they didn't do it better or something like that? So, I mean, even now, there's still a stigma attached where some people don't want to touch certain things because they think it's gaming or something like that. They don't understand or...
Well, they're whatever. That's their loss. Look, guys. As you were saying, Adrian, we're getting a lot of comments in the comment line. I mean, Simone, we look better than we ever have before. They want to see the script. They want to see the script, and they're asking us to do that line that Habib actually.
Oh, what line is that?
I'm not. No, I'm not.
Who came up with who came up?
That damn line for the last 2 years. I'm not freaking saying it. It's kind of like, and it's like, this is all Habib's fault with that darn.
But Adrian wrote. Adrian, did you write the line?
You know what? I can't remember. I don't remember if I wrote it, if it was on the day, but I remember we were talked about doing it a specific way. And I am really? I am not one for saying, hey, they did it in that, we should definitely do it in here,
Mm-hmm.
But
you know how much aggravation from that? I'm following what from the professional. And all of a sudden it's kind of like, I'm trying to do this every which way but loose. And I've got Habib, who's got a smile on his face, and he's trying to coerce me into doing it a certain way because, yes, I've got a big mouth and my voice does carry. So he knows where I can go with this, and I don't want to do it. But at the same time, I don't want to tell my boss or one of my bosses, I don't want to do it that way. I saw the video, and it's kind of like, so to this day, God damn it, I'm still getting, and everybody's trying to get me to say this freaking line, right there. And I'm not gonna do it. And if I'm gonna do it again, it's gonna cost EA Games a lot of money for me to do it. So
I know, but you would if there's a most wanted 2, you would be like, okay, fine, I'll say it.
That's like, yes. If the
let me just say, you didn't want to do it. You didn't want to do it that way, though, right, Dean?
I didn't want to do it that way. Habib made me, you know how many takes we took with Habib, like going, let's try it this way. And it's like I do another. Okay, Dean, why don't we try this? And he's trying to basically gently shepherd me back to that. And by the time I got so frustrated, I just screamed out the damn line and said, "Okay, all right, that's it," and did it. And then won. Okay, moving on.
But Simone, you didn't know he. If I remember correctly, didn't he scare you because you didn't know he was actually going to do it that way?
That's the best way.
Or did you know? Were you prepared?
You know what? It wouldn't shock me that I didn't know, but it typically, like, you should, just for safety for the person's hearing, you should give me like an earpiece, and I don't like a ear, like, but I think he did legit just straight up yell in my ear.
Simone, put that picture back up. Let's see your face. I want to see your face again when he does the scream. Put the picture back up. I want to see.
If I'm recalling correctly, I think the first take you had no idea, and I remember Footman whispering, "Oh, that was good. She didn't know it was coming."
Look, that's her face. Look at her face. She's like, "Did he just scream in my ear?"
See, I had to be the professional there.
I feel like that's a face of pain. Like this physically hurts right now.
Dean, I'm actually on the same page as Dean there. Like, I mean, I remember them talking about it, and I'm like, well, they did that in a professional. Like, why would we copy that, right? Like, but it worked, and people loved it, and
Adrian. But you know what makes it worse? online, I saw a number of years later that somebody had taken that scene from that game and Gary Oldman's put them together and had them overlapping. And so I see this, and I'm just, excuse my language, everybody. Oh, fuck. I mean, the last thing that any actor wants to see is come across as being unoriginal and copying somebody else so freaking blatantly. But to everybody out there, I didn't say, I said everybody.
Everyone.
I said everybody, suckers. To everybody out there, I literally did not want to do it that way. It was Habib Zargarpour, this man right there.
David,
Habib.
Gently forced me to do it that way.
Your version was way better.
Everyone. Todo mundo.
But I'm
in,
not saying that word. I'm not saying it again. If I ever say it again, it would be
look at it.
Another Most Wanted.
Oh,
they use toy figures.
Dean and
let's see.
Simone.
That's where you look up and
She kicks you out. She kicks you into the ground.
I look like a Lego character.
Where's
That
your
is
fancy
so
ride?
motion blur in the shot.
At that moment, you were probably not.
Dave Footman would
Oh
do
man.
these lipstick camera boards that are hilarious. They're just like he would visualize them
Oh wait, here let me.
using a lipstick camera, and then he even got the motion blur in there. You can see like the camera moving.
Oh,
That is
that's
so
cool.
A razor.
It's so unique.
You know, one thing I am, Adrian, one thing that I am kind of grateful for, you know, this scene that we do when we take the gamer down and Simone arrests the gamer and knock the ground, so the POV from the gamer is looking up at me as I've got my hands on my hips, and I came up with that line, "Oh, they're gonna love you in the big house, baby," and you guys actually kept it because I had lived that. But like, do they know what that actually means by me saying that? It's like, we're talking prison romance here.
Hey, T14, baby. That's why Need for Speed's T14.
This is the green screen of you and I doing that scene.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Look at the abs on Simone.
Well, yeah.
And you know, Simone's still rocking it.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes, you
She
are.
still looks just as great as she did back in the day.
I'm ready for my close-up, EA.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's
go.
You know, and I was
like to discuss about how casting for a video game compares to a movie. Well, I think we just did.
It's kind of similar, though, right? Kind of similar. You still do an addition, no? It's the same, no?
It is and it isn't, because I mean, you know, if you're doing performance capture, one of the things you need to realize is that there's cameras, like tons of little cameras all around you, so they're getting a very dynamic 360 of you. So instead of playing to like camera, you're open. It's very much more full body. It's almost like mask work, but not, you know, it's just like, and you really have to use your imagination. Okay, guys. Hey, here's one from Berkey or Turk. Sorry, God, forgive me, Berkey. But he said, this person is saying, I think that Need for Speed Most Wanted 2 is Carbon because it's a sequel game to Most Wanted. What do you guys
think? Kuru, I'll let you answer that question since you play Most Wanted a whole lot more than I did.
All right, so here's the thing. The thing with Carbon, it doesn't really revolve around the cops. They are in the game. They basically copy-pasted them. But the game itself, when you play through the career modes, the cops are not really involved. They appear from time to time when you finish a race. Yeah. But in Most Wanted, you had to actively build up a bounty and encounter the cops on purpose to be wanted. While in Carbon, you just did the races, you got the territories, and then you beat Darius at the end of the game.
Game over.
And in between, sometimes in the races, you found cops, you took them out, and then you moved on with your life. And that is why, for me, it's not a true Most Wanted, because while it has mostly the same gameplay elements on a different world map, the cops themselves were not as involved.
Mhm.
And that's like the
because
big
it's not most
difference and
wanted.
why it's
Because
not
it's
most
not.
wanted.
Yeah, it should be a most wanted 2. I agree, Kuru.
About whether Adrian and I were involved in Carbon, mostly I was involved in terms of how they did the cinematics, because they used the same technique of taking real actors on a green screen. But yeah, I think I agree with Kuru. It's definitely
I wasn't involved at all. Yeah, I left EA at that time.
Adrian, and I got a question for you. Now that we're talking about a true most wanted game and Carbon, since you write these games and you have the skill to write the games, I know that the player base, although we're gonna have some youngsters playing the game, but we're also gonna have the adults, the true adults that are original fans of the series coming back to it, obviously more mature and more developed and more well versed with what really happens in the world. As a writer, what would you do? What would you change in a most wanted 2, let's say, that now approaches that borderline M for mature limit? Because again, that's what Need for Speed has been doing recently. It's like getting so close to rated M for mature, but still getting away with that T14 title. How would you write that? How would you structure that?
Well, I mean, you mean generally what kind of story I would like to see in the next one?
Exactly, yeah, as a writer, yeah. What would you say about something like that?
You know what? I would like to revisit some of the motivations I was telling you about that I heard when I was meeting with those guys that were actually doing it, and like some of the things you were talking about. Yeah. Right?
What a great name, Taco.
Yeah.
Right. There's to me, I think that some of the story, I mean, I was involved with Most Wanted, the one when they did Ghost Studios out of Sweden did that one. And then it went over to Criterion after that, right? But I was involved with that one. At halfway, some other people took over the story and it turned into something entirely different. If I could go from beginning to end and do it my way, I would do it a little bit darker with a little bit more of the behind the scenes politics that you see, right?
Yes.
That's what I would like to
see. Right there.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing where you get interesting things, right? You get to see these characters, and it's not just a matter of, oh, well, why does his car look like that? Why does her car look like that? Why does she drive that way? Why does she like him and not him? And he hates that. I mean, then you could get into some of the really juicy stuff about why people do what they do. And some of the motivation behind why some of these people did what they did. Like I remember, LP, you were just saying that, oh, there's older guys doing this, right? Because it's an expensive thing, right?
Absolutely. And it's not what it used to be too, Adrian. It's not what it used to be back in 2002. Now it's a whole different industry. It turned into an industry. Actually, it went from Fast and Furious 1 to an actual worldwide industry. Besides just a few kids wanting to have fun at night.
Yeah, and I mean, last time when I was involved with it, and we're talking when I actually met with real people doing this kind of thing, right? There was all sorts of stuff going on. Like there was a big money investment too, where a car would show up. Clearly, it wasn't a guy who put it together in his garage. A lot of money went behind that car, and they were there specifically to gain business, right? So they would show up to show what they could do. And it would be these shops, right? It would be really well-funded shops that would come and show up, and they wanted to show their stuff off. It's, to get more people to come by and tune their cars and stuff like that. And then, or I remember, I should be careful to say it was that some of the people that would show up in New York in like Lambos, or at the time, some of the higher end American muscle cars,
with all the Corvettes,
like the Vipers and stuff like that were kids from Long Island who were taking their parents' cars out without the parents knowing, right?
Jeez.
So they would show up with these cars that they weren't theirs, but they were there to like race. And then there was other guys like Taco who would do all his work. He would do all his work in his own garage with his friends, exactly how you would think it would happen, right?
That's the guy you are friends with in the game where the story starts, and that's your Taco. That's the guy you're friends with.
Adrian, are you saying that these kids from Long Island would show up in their parents' like high-end sport cars and race for pinks?
No, not for
pinks, but
for pinks, yeah.
I mean, right from losing the car to joining the army.
Yeah. No, I didn't ever hear anybody doing that, but they would definitely show up to try to race and like, posture about, and then people would be
Show
like,
off.
that's not even their car, it's their dad's car or whatever. Or their dad
It
bought
happens
it, or
all the
their
time.
mom bought it for them, or what have you, right? Like, yeah, stuff like that.
It happens all the time here in Houston. They crash and then they.
We picked the BMW M3 GTR as a hero car, and Adrian, maybe your recollections better than mine, but I remember at the time we were building the game. First of all, we didn't want to be, traditional Need for Speed Ferrari, and we didn't want to be underground necessarily, where you got your Nissan 240SX, and so at the time there was a viral video that was this guy racing this BMW M3 GTR around Nuremberg track. Remember that, Adrian?
Mm.
I should dig that video up because it's incredible. So it's basically driving. Someone had a GoPro, or this is pre-GoPro, but they had a camera on the dash and they raced around this track. And we used that as inspiration for the game, both for how it felt and also the sound of the car.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of, I think, between this and the Nissan Skyline as a hero car. And then, so this car really fit in between exotic and, the street racer car. And it looked really sweet. So that's how they picked it as a car. Do you remember differently, Adrian?
No, I mean, I was just looking at a question. It's actually good timing because somebody just asked, do we have input in the cars? I never had direct input. I could suggest, but a lot of time what would happen was design would try to balance the game, right? So they would then have a lot of input on what character had what, depending on when that character you'd run into them, right? So I couldn't just say, oh, this guy or she's going to have like this car, and then they're like, well, no, that would break the design because that's going to be way, way out of balance compared to some of the other stuff. So I never directly had input. You know who had a lot of input too that I remember? Marketing. I remember marketing always had a lot of input on what would be used, but there was decision made. Yeah.
What is the deal with this Skyline with the Razor license plate?
Like Paul Walker's car.
This little Matchbox car Dave found.
Oh, okay. I wondered about that because I saw that on a Need for Speed forum where they're like, was this an early rendition of like instead of his Mustang or?
Do you have that picture of Dave with a sign on his chest?
No, I don't.
Did I show that last time? I meant to. Let's see. I got it.
David?
Yeah, I have it on my screen.
Don't.
I don't know. Not exactly sure.
Habib, Adrian, has BMW ever reached out to you guys and said, our sales in this particular model of BMW kind of went through the roof, and well, thank you very much because our stockholders are really happy?
I have no idea what the numbers were on those metrics, but there was a guy that went around to every manufacturer to work out deals for the use of their vehicles. Right? It was a very, very complicated thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, whether something could be in the game or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Every manufacturer was different.
Yeah, you want to hear something that blow your mind? Is there's manufacturers that were like, we do not want our game or we do not want our car associated to this game at all.
Oh, of course.
Well, because of liability and
Did it multiple times.
No. I think I told you this before. When Casino Royale, the original James Bond, was being done, the producers Cubby and Broccoli, they wanted to have a car for their super spy. So being British, they decided, okay, well, let's go to Aston Martin. Now the powers that be at the time did not want their vehicle associated in any way, shape, or form with a movie. It was, I guess, the time they figured it was beneath them. Well, James Bond went through the roof, like globally, and then the next thing you know, Aston Martin's basically on their hands and knees begging for them to take the DB5. But this has always been that way. I've heard this with other games. Other friends that have done video games where there's a certain company, it starts with a T, does not want their cars
Oh
involved
man, we're still fighting that one.
in video games, which I mean,
That is not over.
considering that particular company, their vehicle is pretty much one of the more popular brands to be reconfigured for street racing. So I don't get the thinking.
Dean, let me add to that. So that brand, and everybody in the comment chat, go ahead and post the name of the brand, because you know what we're talking about. You
we don't have
to. Reason?
Does it rhyme? Does it rhyme
no, I
with
understand.
Tesla?
Let's make it fun while we're not saying it. But anyway, the bottom line is that, okay, so they make a video and they say, we just made a car designed for the street enthusiast to modify. That is very versatile and you know, easy to customize. Well, then they take their car out in Fast and Furious that's about to come out. They take their card out in a game that another company made called Fast and Furious Crossroads. And the funny part is that EA says, well, you know what? Now I'm buying your company, and now I have the license to your car because I'm about to buy your company. And EA just bought Codemasters. They're actually literally on the final stages of buying Codemasters, who owns the rights to the car. Okay? The funny part is that I still doubt that car is coming back to Need for Speed, which is the bottom line. The saddest thing, I don't understand. How can it be so difficult to get this manufacturer to say, fine, Need for Speed, we allow the car to be back in your game? It's ridiculous. Kuru, you have anything to say about that?
The way I see it, like, any promotion is good promotion. Like, if I get the chance to be seen anywhere, I'll take it immediately. Like, if you get me on national television for a cooking show, put me on. Like, I don't care. Like,
right? Like,
just get me out there. And the more eyes are on me, like, it doesn't matter if it's something completely different than what I'm doing right now. It just doesn't make sense to me. I just feel like it's another version of a boomer, just not knowing what's going on in the world, especially with social media and how marketing works, and maybe someone higher up being like, we have never been associated with this. This is not us. This is not me. You know, it might be a pride thing. You know, a pride thing at the end of the day.
In
like,
their movie, they're doing it half the time.
Kuru, they're talking about you gaming on a cooking show, and I was thinking, what wouldn't be a bad idea?
Dude, honestly, I would watch you, bro.
Kuru in the cook, where
live streaming while cooking, bro. Like, damn.
The thing is, I have a background as a chemist, so cooking might be misunderstood.
The Breaking Bad way.
So, Kuru, you have a background in chemistry, so what is that what you studied?
Yeah, and like my entire high school was chemistry and biology, and then I did the same thing in university, and so that was the thing that I did before. How in the world you ended up behind the screen? Well, basically, I was just doing it for fun, you know. And I have that habit: when I do something, it catches on. Like I do something to a level where people get interested in it. And even though it wasn't planned, it just catches on. It catches people's attention, and it's always that passion thing. You're passionate about something. You do it really well, and all of a sudden you got people surrounded. You're surrounded by people that are like, "Hey, this is cool. Do more of this."
I think it's your personality, though, dude. Like, your personality is really catchy. It's so easy to flow with, I think.
The thing is, I wasn't always like this. Like, if you go back to my YouTube videos 4 years ago when I started streaming, like, the confidence was not there yet. I had the skill. I was able to do the things that I was able to do, but like the charming side of me was not there yet. Not at all. But that's just something you develop. It's like another thing. You just do it over and over again. You know, okay, you kind of see yourself all the time too. You watch your own videos. You're like, okay, this was kind of weird. That was kind of awkward. Why did I do this? Why the F did I say that? you just improve yourself because you're like, that was pathetic. I'm not doing that again. No way. It's just a work in progress. Everything really.
Hey, Habib,
I saw two. Sorry, go ahead, Dean.
Habib, question for you: Was the airport cut early or late in the development? This is from Andrea Berenga.
The airport was cut early, but what was cut later, which broke some people's hearts, was the Alpine area. Yeah. We're going to have a part with snow.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
A la Whistler, you know, the Squamish Highway and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man, but still, it's a beautiful map.
Just the drawings of it, but yeah, we didn't. We ended up cutting that.
Somebody asked me if I knew how Fiat got in. I have no idea how Fiat was. Or is the Most Wanted sequel to Underground 2? Is Most Wanted a sequel to Underground 2? No, it wasn't. It wasn't a sequel.
You wanna know why they asked that? There's like this one-liner from Rog, the guy that introduces you to the racing scene. That's like, look what the Underground brought up. And that's like the introduction scene to a race. Like, look what the Underground spit up, or something like that.
Is that the one in the middle of the day where you're racing against one of those like muscle cars, Pontiac GTO? Is that where you're racing against the Pontiac?
Yeah, that's Rock. And he's like, look what the Underground brought up again, something like that. So that's why the people always, see that connection to Underground 2. But for me, it was always like, okay, they were just talking about Underground racing, and that's it. And it's like a nice hint to the older games, but there's no direct connection there.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I know they did so many things that you're like, oh, you just want to. And that's the thing, I don't know if you guys agree with me, but Need for Speed is one of those series that they had all these opportunities to connect them. They had all these chances to make it a well-connected series of events that just, look at an example. Like, look at Fast and Furious. They're on like their 9th film right now, and the series are still connected. They just keep bringing in new plot twists, right? Fast and Furious 9, meet Dom's brother. Like, who the hell thought Dominic Toretto had a brother and now wants to kill him?
Yep.
Nobody thought.
I thought the franchise. Yeah. I thought the franchise was over when Paul Walker passed away.
Passed away.
Hey, man. Again, that's why. Again, I'm looking at this, and just like we still keep on getting these in the comment line. Can I say this? Ripper's right about remastering Most Wanted 05. It will really bring back old fans and bring in new fans. Hang on, new fans.
Dude. Look, Call of Duty did it with Modern Warfare.
Oh yeah, that was something I wanted to mention earlier. They actually remastered one of their most popular shooters, not Most Wanted, Modern Warfare. It's also named W. And they packaged it with the new game. So everyone bought the new game just so they can get the old game. It's crazy. Like most people took the new game. Yeah. Put it to the side and just played the old one remaster first. Like nearly all of them. It was crazy.
Part of a bundle.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm just wondering. It absolutely makes no sense. We can spitball this because everybody in the comment making comments is wondering. We've all been wondering. Adrian, Habib, we're all wondering, and maybe you're right, Kuru, that maybe it's a case of they're gonna hold off until 1 or 2 games down the road, the franchise.
That's the only thing that comes to my mind. I ran out of ideas.
We should Fast and Furious is on number 9, and we still haven't gotten Most Wanted 2. Like, what?
Like, maybe we need to all dress up in our suits and our briefcases and look really professional. Make an appointment with, the Wizard of Oz at EA and be like, we demand a meeting. All right, we're here to talk about this. We're going to do this video game. We're going to do this.
I'm going to beg somebody to put millions upon millions upon millions of dollars into their pocket with a modicum of effort. All they got to do is just have a tiny little launch party on some part of the net, which will crash the net. And I got to beg them to do this.
Dude, you don't understand how big it would be.
Hell no.
Hey, look,
my agent.
Adrian, what's up?
Look, it's Burnout Fan. Says, Habib or Adrian, did you do anything on PSP version of Most Wanted? I didn't. Did you, Habib? Or?
On which version?
PSP, PlayStation Portable.
Yeah.
No, that was a separate team.
Yeah.
Dedicated to, because that's one of the things about the Need for Speed franchise is we were on all platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So you had GameCube, you had PlayStation 2, you had Xbox Original.
Avoid the Game Boy version. It's horrible.
I played it.
So within the team, there were dedicated people to make the GameCube work and to make the PlayStation 2 work. And it's a lot of work. But the PSP was a group outside. Actually, it was a bunch of guys that would make some popular PSP games. And I have no idea how they did it, but it's hard to take the level of assets that were made for 360 and then port it to that. But
I think GameCube was very difficult because the discs were super tiny from the size. They had like 1.4 gigabytes, while DVD had 4.7.
Yeah,
that must have been really hard to work with, like downscale everything.
It would look like that was hard.
Mhm.
Same thing when I was James Bond. That was the
Dean,
same.
I have a question here, and also for Habib, and maybe also Adrian knows a little bit about this. Asking about Repo Man. I know you and I, Habib, had a small conversation about.
Looking at that. Okay,
you saw it, right, Adrian?
I saw the question. I saw the question.
One of those questions that has been
question
the internet. Go ahead, Habib. Do you know anything about Repo Man? It was supposed to be what, Carbon, and then they switched into Carbon or something.
I don't know. Can I say anything, Adrian?
You know what, Habib? I was just.
They did a proof of concept, but then they got canceled.
I don't even know. I'm afraid to say anything, actually.
Yeah, don't say anything you're afraid to say. I mean, obviously.
Don't say anything you're afraid to say. But then again, it's something. And again, this is probably something that I could say because I don't have any NDAs myself. It's stuff that has been searched on the internet about this game. Obviously, there's rumors around about a game that was supposed to be made around the time between Most Wanted and Carbon, and it was canceled because whatever, it just did not fit into what they wanted it to do, and that's what Repo Man was and is still today. But who knows? Maybe it's still a concept that might be on EA's book of business, and who knows?
And that's why, that's why I don't want. I have so much to say about that. And that's all I could say.
Oh, come on!
I have so much. Let me share a story with you why I'm so hypersensitive. I put something on my LinkedIn one time that I was, because I've worked on. I've been really fortunate to have worked on a lot of games. After I left EA, I went in and worked with a lot of different developers and studios. Sometimes very late in a project, sometimes early, sometimes just to polish. Actually, Habib, I just realized you and I worked on Rise by Crytek.
Yes.
I didn't know we both had worked on that
Rise.
title. But
Let me look it up.
Rise, it was Rise, yeah, Son of Rome. I didn't do the story for that. There was another dude that did that. But anyways, what I'm getting at is I went on my LinkedIn. I was really excited I was working for DICE in Sweden at the time, and there was a new IP. And I had just put down working on a new IP. I went to bed, I woke up, and I looked at my phone, I looked at my email, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting emails from lawyers, from executive producers, from different, and they're like, you got to take this thing off your LinkedIn. And I'm just like, oh. And then I looked online and somebody had said, this must be the new game that's coming out because this guy's working on it. And the new IP I was working on had nothing to do with any of that stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I literally had nothing to do with any of the rumors for this new IP. I was literally working on something entirely different that actually was a great concept that DICE was working on at the time, but they never greenlit the project, right? But it was super cool. So now I'm like hypersensitive to
yeah, be careful. I get it, man. Your job is so important.
But I have, you know what, over a beer, when COVID's over, I'd be happy to spill my guts about stuff I do not know about, certain things that should not be spoken of.
I wish they would make reality shows about games being made behind the scenes and then broadcast it after the game comes out, because there's so much decisions and the things that happen, and the challenges and all the battles people are having to try and get things to look good.
That's really interesting.
It would be I just wish at least somebody would document that. You know what I mean? It's like, exists because of secrecy.
What I'm afraid of, or my assumption is why don't they do that? Because I think some people would go, how do we let these guys here be in charge of all that if that's how they do the things they do? They'd be like,
yeah, I guess
that's what would make it a popular show.
I'll give you an example. Somebody said, oh, how do they pick writers and stuff for games? A lot of people want to get into game writing and stuff like that, right? And and I was doing a talk, and I said in this talk, the thing that blew my mind when I first experienced it, there's an opportunity to get in. You're new when you get into anything. People need to be given an opportunity. But what I saw in games is there's opportunities given, writing specifically, to people because they're the cousin of a brother of a guy who's dating a girl who really likes to write. And I thought to myself, all of a sudden there's this person that they stick into the cockpit of a major title, right, worth tens of millions of dollars because they're passionate about something. I'm like, that's like taking a person who loves flying and saying, here, get in this Raptor. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they just go and fly it, right? It's like you have no train. It's like, it always blew my mind that would, and early on, I mean, now it's changing a little bit. They've got people that they bring on board with like backgrounds and that kind of stuff, right? But still, I'm blown away. I'm blown away by the stories I hear of some of the writing crews they have on huge titles. And then I look, I'm just like, it blows my mind.
But it's not just unique to that process. I mean, Simone can attest to this. We've been actors for many, many years. And I find as an actor, not everybody can do what we do because it's not just about talent. It's about a number of other factors, including courage or a willingness to put yourself out there and to be told no on any given day, you are not good enough, and still walk out of that room still believing that you are better than what that person just said to you in that room. Now, the thing about the industry being an actor or an actress is that there are a lot of people in the world that want to do what we do, but find other ways to insert themselves into the narrative. People that really shouldn't be there, that are, like you said, a friend of a brother's, sister's, mother's, daughter's, cousin, whose best friend's little sister wants to be a so-and-so and so. That can, more often than not, be a poison pill in the process and can sometimes even screw up your day as an actor because they have no effing clue what the process entails, what it means to be an artist, the nature of sacrifice, the nature of putting yourself out there unashamed and without reservation. But these people come and drop themselves into a process, and literally it's like a well-oiled machine and somebody coming along and putting a little bit of sand in a certain area and just gumming up the works a bit. So, I mean, the world is ripe with this. I mean, oh, come on. I mean, how many times have I lost a part to somebody that I'm looking at what they did and I just went, how the hell are you being called an actor? And how did I lose this role to you? That's life.
Yeah, I mean, the flip side of that, though, I wanted to say is like, yeah, I mean, I see that, and then I'm not a big fan of that type of approach. However, I mentor people. Like, so I've mentored a few writers that wanted to get in. I'm all for giving people opportunity. And I'm not saying, hey, you can't give somebody an opportunity. I'm just saying that some of the circumstances that I've seen those opportunities are not like, hey, let's offer an internship to somebody who's got passion and really loves this or really loves gaming or really loves doing this. It's like, yes, by all means, people need to be given opportunities and to get in and sort of grow in that business, right? But you also have to have some technical background in that, whether you're a writer or an actor. You know, you can't just show up and go, oh, I want to act or I want to do this. It's like Kuru was saying, like when he first started doing this, right? It's a learning process where when you first start, you look back and go, I can't believe I said or did that, right? Because it takes skill, it takes talent, it takes time, right? Yeah. And so like, yeah, I've mentored people that I've met who shown a passion and some talent, but also needed some technicality. So I believe that opportunity should be given. It's just that sometimes the people who are allowed to do certain things are way, way high in the level of input that they shouldn't be at that stage, right? And that's what blows my mind when I talk about getting in the cockpit of a Raptor when you've never flown a plane before, simply because you like the idea of being a pilot one day, right? It's just like, what are you talking about? Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's just like Vancouver. Hey, just because you can afford to drive a $500,000 McLaren doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Adrian, when you write, do you say your lines out loud? Because like
all the time.
Looking at your resume, I mean, you've written like Ancient Rome and Battlefield games and, you know, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale and all these different voices. I mean, it's epic. Are you just in the bathroom being like, "You shall not pass"? Like, are you, like, what's going on in there?
You'd be surprised who I say those lines to when I'm in the bathroom. But
I don't. Do I want to know? I don't know.
I first of all, it's actually a lot of research too, right? Like I spend a ton of time researching stuff, but then it's like I say all the lines out loud. I try to at least say them out loud to see how they will actually roll. How when talent gets a hold of it, are they going to be able? Is it going to be difficult to articulate? Are they going to be able to talk about it? Are they going to be able to say these lines? And oftentimes, I'll try to be in the room when they're recording or filming to be able to do stuff on the fly, right? But that's not always the case. But yeah, I'll do that. But yeah, it's a lot of research. And then the other thing too is even if I research the hell out of something, the game itself might have other parties that want to either take it, a hybrid version of reality or to the other side. Underground 2 was a perfect example of that, right? We did a lot of research on what the lines should be, but then they decided to take it into a hyper real version of it, and it came out a totally different, right? And so, yeah, it's not always up to me to how it will sound in my head and how it actually comes out, but yeah.
Wow. So you actually say the dialogue out loud? I mean, holy cow.
Oh my God, look how old that picture is.
Wow.
I am so glad. I'm so glad I got this photo because I really try every show I do to get a photo with, some of the people I'm working with. And thank God I was like, hey guys, can you come over and do a photo? Like, this is so awesome to have this.
Hey, Adrian, you still have that shirt?
No, I don't. It was my cowboy shirt. It was so cool. It was polyester. that shirt, if I stood under a hot lamp, it would start to melt and catch fire. I couldn't wear it everywhere.
Wow. That's amazing.
Oh my God, look how much younger we are. Habib, look at you. My God.
Crazy.
That giant green screen.
During that shoot.
Matteo Gardi next to me was the producer for the cinematics.
Who was that? Who was it again?
Matteo Gardi. We're going to try and have him on next time, right, Simone?
Yes. Yeah. No, he's welcome to come on anytime for sure.
During that shoot, I had a WRX and on the way to work one day, I got smoked by a car and nearly killed. Actually, not a car, a delivery vehicle. Yeah. And I didn't show up for the last few days of filming. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that Rex, do you? Yeah, that Rex. It was the station wagon version, but it's because I had 2 dogs at the time. But I love that car. But anyways, if it wasn't for that car, I really think that I would have been killed because it was built.
They're amazing. The stories behind those cars are amazing.
Yeah.
Who was it? That WRX? Which
the Subaru WRX?
The Subaru.
It was before the STI officially came out. You had to if you wanted, you had to actually do a lot to your WRX to get it to the rally version, and then they started selling it with 300 horse, and everybody was like, oh my God, and then it went crazy, right?
But, I've had 4 of them, man.
No kidding. Yeah,
loyal, man. Loyal.
Those like the Supra, it was like a rocket propelled tank
with passion.
They were solid.
Yeah.
I mean, I could tell you another story about racing around the alleyways in Toronto in my buddy's Supra late at night after we may or may not have had an
Did that end up in jail too?
No.
I know. So the second time he was in jail. No, just kidding.
We almost ended up into a brick wall driving smack dab into one. Yeah. That was
someone was mentioning about Paul Walker being in the script, and yes, the actor who played the player happened to be called Paul Walker, but it's not the same person.
It's not the same guy. No,
it's a coincidence.
Yeah.
No, well, Paul Walker is actually Paul Walker Jr. in the Need for Speed. I mean, in the movie franchise, it's Paul Walker Jr. This guy's name that with us is Paul Walker, but the real Paul Walker is Paul Walker Jr.
Oh, that's a new one. I didn't know he was Junior.
And then whenever we shot a scene, we had to know where you are in the game so things would line up. People don't realize this was the first time we were doing an all green screen shoot in the world. It was happening at the same time as Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. So we were breaking down as well as making people look synthetic. But I have here like one of in the script, I would write down the GPS location of where it is in the game so I could find that place and film it. So that was like something we had to keep track of.
And it's hard to see, but yeah.
That's cool. That's why, you know, when you're playing the game, it matches your location whenever you're going to a certain place, you know, where the race is supposed to happen. And then we cut to the game, you're actually in the same place. So it wasn't an easy thing to do. But that's also why we had to keep the lighting sort of generic when we did the shoot, because we weren't sure what time of day exactly we were going to have. And also the whole green screen was an experimental new thing. So we actually ended up making use of the green bounce. Normally that's a problem. The whole floor was green. There you go. So the bounce on the actors, normally it's a problem to have all the green bounce, but actually we made use of that to extract parts of the shapes and get that synthetic look.
Amazing.
So you kind of mostly saw the CG look when you watched it in high def. It sort of went away if you were watching in low definition, unfortunately. But
beautiful.
Lynn Exception asks, was it intentional that Cross mentions Rockport and Need for Speed Payback? I didn't do you know anything about that? I didn't have anything to do with Payback.
It was intentional.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you go, it wasn't me though, so yeah.
It was, no, it wasn't you. It, before, I got a call from my agent saying that EA Games wanted me to do some dialogue, and they weren't specific. So I ended up going to the EA campus in Burnaby in British Columbia, and went downstairs into the bowels of that campus, and went into a sound studio. And the director, I don't know who it was. He was somewhere in Europe at the time. God, this is like so long. I asked me what I had for breakfast this morning. Anyway, he said that that the game that I was going to be doing this track for, he had actually wanted to bring Cross back and put him in this game. But I don't know, this, that, and the other, fiddly D, fiddly high, sun comes up and cow jump over the moon. They couldn't it just didn't work out. But what he was doing was he's inserting me and that Rockport line in, so that with the idea that I would be coming back. Cross, there would be a new game, another game specifically designed around Cross, like messing with everybody. So that was why that the plan was to bring me back. So yeah, EA Games has reached out to me in a kind of a soft way, which I didn't realize at the time until we started doing this. But yeah, I think they are toying with it, but they just don't know how to get there. So
2023, Kuru, 2023.
Waiting for it.
I know, man. Me too. Simone, I'm about to head out. I gotta go handle some.
You're gonna deal with your baby boy.
Yeah, I have a 9-month-old that just woke up, so I'm about to go change some poopy diapers.
Well, thank you so much.
I love you guys. Thank you, Adrian. Awesome stories, man. Hey, and Kuru, thank you, Habib, Dean, Simone. You guys. Hey. I'm so jealous. I want to stay in this conversation, but you know how it is.
No, we will have you back. We'll have you back. This isn't over.
LP, reach out. All right.
You got it. Let's stay in touch, guys.
Yeah.
Talk to y'all later.
Good. All right, man.
Bye.
All right.
There's a question for Adrian. It says, from where you found the Blacklist guys and why Vic and Earl is the only ones who have voice messages to the player.
Man, I can't remember. I mean, I know that if there were voice messages, they probably just cut a whole bunch, because I know that it wasn't specific. They must have just, for production reasons, cut a whole bunch of stuff on that. I mean, I think we wouldn't have specifically, from what I remember, we wouldn't have specifically just done just those two characters. So I'm not sure. I can't actually remember. Yeah.
We got a question here from Need for Speed Showdown King. Question: why did Need for Speed Carbon on PSP use them? No, that's not it. No. This was Sorry. My bad. Oh no, this is the one. Who's responsible for the insult to the gamers. Question: Why did Need for Speed Carbon on PSP use the map of Most Wanted 05? Who's responsible for that insult to the gamers? Ouch.
I don't know.
Whoever decided they're gonna just copy the old one.
Yeah, sounds to me like they just used the assets they had at hand to save time, right?
That's probably what, yeah. That
This
makes the most.
person is still pissed.
Let's say they develop like that Carbon version with the Most Wanted map, because the Carbon team was working on the Carbon version for the PC, right? Like they didn't probably share those assets with them, so they just used the old assets. That's how I'm thinking about it. That's the one. That makes sense to me, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing. I wasn't part of it, but I'm probably just to save time is share assets. Yeah.
Okay, and Habib, here's a question for you. I noticed that in the cover of Most Wanted 2005, the M3 GTR has sponsors in the rear window, but in game it doesn't. Was that intentional?
Somebody's really observant.
Oh, they're very observant.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when it came to the cover, that's when more deals are made through marketing. So they're able to, add those officially at that point. It's much after the game's kind of under the way. Now, by the same token, one of the cool things about working on games is you can actually change something last minute, and it would basically propagate through the entire game. So if someone decided to put an X on the livery of the car, then wherever that car shows up, it would have the X on it. So so at the same time, you have to be really careful not to have last minute mistakes, because then that would be all over the game. And this is very different than working on movies where shots are finaled and you can't really go back and modify stuff unless you spend a lot of money. Whatever is filmed out is filmed out, and the games are kind of opposite. So I guess we could have last minute decided to add those into the in-game car, but at that point, I guess they figured just to keep it on the cover. Good question.
Somebody asked if we have any clothes, Simone, from the games. Like Habib.
Well, yours were glued and laminated, right?
Yeah. Habib, you got to explain why we wouldn't have any clothes from the games.
Oh yes, so we did a special treatment to make the actors look CG. We were going for the what was the film at the time that come up by
Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow?
It was I'm blanking now on the name, but there was an all CG film that came out by Square Enix in Hawaii. They made the movie, and the characters were in the uncanny valley, so they didn't look quite real, but it was like the best looking CG at the time. And when you watch the film, there was a percentage of the shots that felt like they were live action. But so we were going for that look, and so it involved a lot of makeup, a lot of treatment to the hair, so that the hair would be glued. You can see here Dean's shirt was actually laminated with cardboard, so that there's only big wrinkles on it, and the wrinkles wouldn't move. And I'm sure that was uncomfortable to wear, Dean.
Yeah.
We have pairs of jeans that would stand on their own. So we dipped the jeans in glue, and you could just leave them standing by themselves. So lots of R&D went into how to make the look of the game this way, and it wasn't just the post-process treatment. It started from the ground up, from the makeup and the clothes. So that wardrobe was definitely not wearable by a normal day.
Although mine was, because mine was just normal, I think, because it was just super tight.
Yeah, and actually thinking about it now, you must have been
wearing.
I was
just in jeans.
Because there's no way to. I guess we could have dry cleaned those, but it's not something you can wash.
Yeah.
There's a question here. Who is the person that we never get to see? That what exactly was it here?
Yeah, the hero, right?
Yeah, the hero. I mean, they wanted it to be the player. They wanted them to think that you are that person, so they didn't want to attach a character to it. It could have been anybody. And that's what made some of the writing a little bit of a challenge, right? Because in most stuff that you watch, you're a passive viewer, so you're not the hero. You watch the hero do their things. You could have dialogue between characters. So it's a little difficult, like if the hero is interacting with Dean as Cross, it would just be Cross talking to the hero the whole time, right? And then that would make for some really weird monologue, essentially, that is being disguised as dialogue, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why the key part worked. That's why keying of the car worked. That's why why people to this day are still pissed off the world over with that scene, because it felt like I was doing it to them. And yeah, I was doing it to you.
Sorry, who are you, Dean? Who are you doing it to?
I was doing it to the gamer, directly to the player.
But everyone, you're doing it.
Did you do it to all of us, or
like who? Yeah, exactly. I got you, Kuru. I got you.
I still didn't say it. Yes, still didn't get me to say it.
It's the same reason Master Chief doesn't take off his helmet.
Right.
Okay, can I tell you guys a quick story that I think is really, really dope? So I've been talking to my new friend who I met online. And no. Anyway.
This is gotten racy.
No, it literally is racy. So this is a guy, you can find him on IG at Most Wanted M3 GTR. And anyway, so he made a replica of the BMW M3, right? So he's been racing since he was 16. He works in the film industry as a wrangler for cars and things like that, for movies and commercials. But, oh wait, I just want to show you one other photo. This is so cute. Of him and a fan of his car. And he also does cannonball runs, and he may or may not race. I don't know. Yes. So very interesting guy, but get this. Okay, hang on one sec. Wait for it. So he has a very good friend who is a Navy officer who was dreaming of racing and became a NASCAR racer. And this guy's name is Jesse, I think it's Owuji. So he owns a Corvette C6 Z06. And he is going to, listen to this. Okay, so this car is built for drifting. He is going to turn this car into Cross's car.
Oh, yeah.
No!
Yes! Yes. And okay, so I had questions about this because I'm like, okay, how can you legally do that? With, you know, Cross's car is obviously a police car, and it looks like this, if you can't remember. Anyway, so apparently he goes, oh no, you can have the police stuff on the side, but you have to have a magnet over it when you drive it, like in the street or whatever, that says out of service. But they're going to outfit Jesse's Corvette with the blue and the red interior lights. Isn't that crazy?
For siren, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I had to think there for a second.
So here's the thing, though, Dean, is so these are the guys in LA that I don't know if Jesse lives in LA, but anyway, our other friend who has the BMW lives in LA, and they want us, and they want you and I. Well, I think everyone should come, but we're gonna go visit the car, do a photo shoot. Hang out with these guys, and I think these are the guys that want us to sign the dash, and then I have to convince them that you could do the pinstripe.
I want to drive the car. I want to drive the vet. If there's a track, I want to drive the vet.
Well, also you should ask
out of it.
You should ask Jesse to be your passenger, and then have him, you know, shit yourself basically while you are in the, you know, you get tacoed, so to speak. You know,
Yeah, right.
I want to key somebody and I want to chase somebody the fuck down.
but isn't that crazy?
Set it up. I'm in. It's done. Forget it. Set it up.
So we got the cars, we got the cast, we got the writers, we got the genius, we got Kuru. I mean, you know, what else do we need here, people? We got it all.
That's awesome.
We just
I
need
got
EA.
the key.
Yeah.
I have the key. Yes. I will bring a set of keys and I will scratch a pinstripe so damn deep a river will run through it.
Oh my God.
That's amazing.
There's a question about how the songs were chosen for the game. And the fact is they were actually commissioned. So they were custom made for the game. And the marketing team deserves credit there. And the producers, the EPs that worked with them, basically going to people that liked the music, that had the vibe that matched the game, and saying, you know, create some songs for us.
But not all of them, right?
No, not all of them. But a lot of the big key ones that you know.
Yeah,
I mean, you definitely commissioned like the Paul Linford chase music, right? Like anything that was like police related, that was just made for the game.
Yeah, the in-game music is different than what I'm talking about, the hip hop stuff. So the in-game music was actually, they did a new thing where they had it ramping up and down based on your police activity, based on your heat. That was a new thing.
You know what's really, really cool with the video games with music? It's like I've always been a fan of the director Michael Mann, the director that, you know, from his first movie that I ever saw him do, which was Thief. But he was also the director of the original Miami Vice movies. But it was like his work was groundbreaking because like he was all these songs, for instance, Can You Feel It Coming in the Air Tonight? Phil Collins. Like that song's what, 3-4 minutes long, 5 minutes long, but they did that in the series. And so to have that kind of a feel where you could actually have real songs from real, you know, modern day, today's hit songs or whatever the case is that really speak to gamers and have those in the game in some way, shape or form, I think would be really, really cool because it worked and nobody's done that like that since Michael Mann and Miami Vice in the 80s. That's how old I am.
Yeah. There was a question there too. Did I write all the police chatter lines? I did. But back to the Habib music one that the person asked for, maybe not on Most Wanted, but I mean, EA had a whole department in LA. That's all they did. They looked for music. They did deals with artists. They looked for new artists. Yeah, they had a whole department.
Do you know if they still do that? Because personally, I think the quality has degraded over the years.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like when we think back of like anything like black box related, the soundtrack that they used for their games was just on a higher level. They just it fit better, it just sounded better. And to be honest, I don't think it even cost more than what it does now. They just don't really put the time in you know finding fitting music for the games. There's always like 2-3 songs that are pretty good, but then you have like 10 others that are, what are they doing here? They don't really fit the game whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know who's doing it, if they still have that setup. I don't know if Habib knows for sure, but I saw another question that I don't know if your fans ask you, Kuru, about where was the blacklist supposed to be a lot longer? There was all sorts of rumors that Raj or Mia were supposed to be on. I think we did have a longer blacklist.
Actually, we started with blacklist of 10, and last time on Simone's show, I was revealing. Do you remember, Adrian, why we went to 15?
I can't remember.
It's because at the time, in the US, they announced the top 10 most wanted terrorist list.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
That makes sense.
We have to differentiate in that.
I do have a follow-up question. One question that I get is at the beginning of the game, Razor's number 15 of the blacklist, right? Mm-hmm. When you start the game, Razor's number 15, and then you know him, Toru, and Ronnie get 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah.
So if Razor was 15 and Toru and Ronnie were not in there, there's like 2 names missing. right? Because now they're 1, 2, 3, and before that, only Razor was at 15. So people always ask me, who are the 2 missing people? My guess was always been like Mia and Rog, because those are the only other 2 characters that are still left in the game. So from the story writing point, like who are those other 2 people that were in the blacklist before? They get replaced by Ronnie and Toru, because Razor just moved up to 1. But yeah, those 2 spots that got taken over by Ronnie and Toru, basically, who were they, and did you think about this detail when making the game?
You want to
Adrian,
answer that, Habib? I'm going to go with Kuru's guess.
All right. So it was basically something you didn't really think about. It just happened, and then it was basically kind of like a missing piece of information in the game, like so many other things.
You know what though? I actually don't know the honest truth to that, because I don't want to say this is how it happened, because then people say, oh, I'm right or you're right or I was wrong. Do you know, Habib? I mean, a lot of times there was planning and then things may have changed due to some sort of development reason, but I don't specifically remember if we had people in there who were then replaced, or I mean, we usually.
Yeah, I was posting render tests that I'd done early, and then people would spot the blacklist on the wall,
right?
The textures and how
I remember that
about the blacklist. So Kuru's right; we did have Mia on the list then,
right.
and then so I think there's also a lot of evolution that happens as you create the game and the story. So between Adrian and the producers, they're working on like, okay, who's going to be racing first? What should the order be? And my guess is like as the game developed, they just left that first slide the way it was, and then ended up with the one that you see when you're actually further down the line.
Yeah, actually, I remember that the blacklist in the background. I think there was also, it created some issues. Like, it created some issues for us internally when that was shown and things had to change.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, Raj was also the front end lead. He's the only one that actually worked on the game. Who's cast into being on the blacklist.
What else do you have, Kuru, as far as people asking you?
Sorry, repeat that?
Sorry, any other questions that people are asking you that you keep getting there?
I mean, there's one question, but I don't think you can answer it. It has something to do with the actual game development by itself, because there's one thing that is still left in the game. On the PC version, you can skip every second boss. There's a glitch left in the game when you click on the continue button on the very right. It's very specific. No. And if you do so, you skip one of the bosses. And I feel like that's something it's more of a question for someone that actually coded the game's elements, and I thought that's probably not something you know.
Sounds like a bug.
I mean, it is very specific. Like you click in basically what happens. You click in a spot and you skip one of the blacklist members. But so it sounds to me like something that happened, that was left in the game from developers as like a tool to just jump quickly between the chapters, and they just forgot to take it out.
It's possible. Yeah, there was a lot of debug features. Like in the debug mode, you can fly anywhere and drop your car down.
Yeah,
and start driving. My favorite feature, and then they always have to remove it. But one of the Easter eggs, someone was asking questions. If one of the things I worked hard to keep in the game was the ability to change the time of day. So we were really proud of our real-time lighting, and we wanted to make sure people can actually enjoy it. And this was one of the first games to be able to offer that, especially on console. So if you went into the options, I have to go and dig up the exact sequence, but one of them is to change time of day, and you can actually move the sun up and down and watch the shadows and lighting change. Cool. Big kudos to the rendering team for pulling that off. But yeah, I had to fight hard to keep that in.
I loved what you brought up the other stream, Habib, about the smackables, which are the things that the player can hit like as they're driving. And you were saying in early renditions you could maybe do like only, what was it, 30?
On a PS2 game before that, it was like 32 was the limit. and for Most Wanted, because of the Xbox 360, 512 megs of memory, they raised it to 1,000. And that's per city, per
per block or something, right?
Yeah, it was like every 2 or 3 blocks.
That's insane. Like that's so much work.
Well, the thing was, we never hit the limit. That was the funny part. And it was the first time where I kept asking the artist, so have we hit the limit? And finally, like, we just don't have enough time to put enough smackables. That was the first time I remember actually not being able to hit a limit on a game, which was refreshing, because everything else you always slammed against the limit.
Wow. Question for Adrian. So, obviously when we work on big projects, especially video games, there's non-disclosure agreements. When you're working as a writer, do they kind of force you to be exclusive with that company for X amount of time where, if they don't want certain trade secrets getting out? Or, I mean, how does that work for writers on video games?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's fortunate or not, but I mean, like, I haven't worked concurrently on, let's say, 2 shooters that were in competition with one another. So it's been okay. But I mean, most of the NDAs is you can't, talk about their trade secrets or their secret engines, super sauce or whatever it is that they're doing, right? So they're usually the agreements in there. No, I've never been in a position where they're like, you can't work for that studio because you're working for us right now, because it wasn't concurrent. Cool. There were different genres. Yeah. So I do concurrent activity sometimes, like writing for different groups, but one could be sci-fi, the other one could be a shooter that's World War I or something like that. So there isn't that fear. But I mean, if I did anything bad there, that'd be the end of it for me.
It looks like Kuru found that M3 GTR Nuremberg video.
Yes. Since you mentioned it earlier, I thought I would pull it up because I watched that video after I played the game, obviously, because people just shared it with me on the stream, and I was like, that sound was so well hit in the game, and it sounds even better in Carbon. Like in Carbon, you went like a level higher, and it sounds even better in Carbon. But it was like you had to get used to it, because I heard the one in Most Wanted so many times that at first in Carbon it sounded weird, but then I was like, this actually sounds better. In Carbon, it sounds even more realistic. It's even more true to the original, and that is now my favorite version of it.
Yeah, I just checked it. That's the video. Yep. That's the right one. 2004. This, you gotta listen to that with sound. It's absolutely incredible. I think his sound was like half the deal.
I'll just post it in the chat for the viewers.
Like Star Wars.
Cool. All right. Any other questions? What?
Nope.
Wow, there's so many.
Close to that time, Simone, when we're gonna have to basically part our ways. And
I know. Well, you've got a date with kickoff, I'm sure.
Well, I gotta go see Tom Brady go upset a whole bunch of haters out there that. I mean, it's I know on paper that Mahomes and those guys are supposed to win, but the guy's he's at his 10th Super Bowl. I mean, it's just come on, put $1,000 down on it and let it go.
I got one more question for all of you guys. Like, how would you reverse approach Most Wanted 2? Instead of waiting for EA to come to you guys, go to them and tell them basically what we talked about, everything we talked about today, why it's a good idea and why they should take another look at it. How would you reverse engineer the idea of getting that game out there again?
One question first: do I bring my agents or not?
Sure, why not? I'm not following you there.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Go ahead, Simone.
Okay.
I think it all depend on the key person to talk to. There's the structures are always changing there. There's different executives in charge, and then whoever is making that decision, that would be the person to talk to.
Who does decide? Who's the leader?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got different executives in charge of whether it's games or sports or whatever. If we're talking about EA, and then they get together and they look at the development cycle for a particular year or 2 years out or 3 years out. And then, I mean, I guess one of the reasons why it's not so easy to say, hey, why aren't they doing it, is they're looking at the huge business model of where the company's headed and what they're promising people as far as shareholders go, or the gaming world. And they'll block out years in advance and say, okay, what's our strategic planning for? Are we going to buy this company? Or are we going to not buy this company? Are we going to make this game? I mean, there's so many factors in play for them to do that even though it may make real sense financially that, hey, this is the top selling game they've had, why wouldn't they do that? The people who sit in that room making those strategic planning for what studio is going to develop what, I'm not.
But at the end of the day, they're still going to make a Need for Speed. You know what I mean? Like, does it really matter to them if they make this or that Need for Speed? Like, it doesn't really change too much about their planning. They just, change the direction of, are we going to make the popular thing? Or are we going to, try something new again that's probably not going to work?
Full of people.
I agree with you.
Probably count them on one hand. That's how the decisions are made. Very few people.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. If you go high up, if you go high enough, sooner or later you get to that one guy or gal that makes the ultimate decision on who lives or who dies. Mm-hmm. I'd like to think that I'll always be available to do cross again if I'm asked to, but I can't see myself much beyond the next 5 years being able or willing to do it. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, the beauty part of having my skin tone is that I'm ageless, so I can keep this up for quite. But I don't know how much longer it would make sense for me to do it without them doing a rehaul of that particular game and getting, I'm sorry, Simone, another Simone and another cross to do that game. But the point I'm trying to make is that we only have a shelf life of so long.
No, we can Benjamin Button.
I mean, I would love to do it. I mean, if they called me tonight, my agent called me tomorrow, and my agent said, look, this is story XYZ. They saw you guys on, and there's been a last minute, they want to basically bring you in for talks. They want to talk to you about this, and they're going to be calling Habib and finding out whether or not he's available for, 6 months to do this, and Adrian to write code and all that other stuff. I mean, are you available? And I'm gonna say, well, yeah, the hell yeah, I'm available. It's like, who else is coming to play? But again, beyond 5 or 6 years from now, really, I don't know.
So somebody asked this question, and in your free time, did you ever play Most Wanted? I remember during development, I had some vacation planned at a cabin in the mountains, and Mike Mann allowed me to take a machine with the whole game on it, so I could work while I was supposed to be on vacation in the mountains. So, because at the time we were tweaking the police chatter to make it, make it more believable, make it seem like it's playing at the right time, that a lot of time. And actually what you hear in the game is our second version, because we initially had put in a whole system, and then we started playing through it, and we're like, this does not sound like what they would, it's not that it's not what they may have sound. It just, they were saying things that just didn't add to it. So we revamped the whole thing. Actually, when it came to the police chatter, there was a lot of work that went into it. But yeah, so did I play it? Yes. Do I play games afterwards? When I'm working on a title, I work on it. I play it so often through development that by the time it comes out, I've played it so much that I'm just like, I need a break.
Yeah, your job really sucks, man.
Yeah, but you know what? And I don't actually, and I mean Habib, he knows too. It's like when we're playing it, it doesn't look like what the actual end thing is, right? And it's like oftentimes we don't, we're not getting the full version of what you get at the end of it, right? So then when we do end up playing it after it's released, you're like, wow, this looks really awesome. Like
it evolves every day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Simone, Dean, Habib, did you play the game, Most Wanted?
Oh yeah.
No, I watched people play the game, but they never really let me play it. So I would like watch people playing me.
And you never got to it after the release, it seems.
No, but I don't have a gaming console, but I really would love to get the game. Like, I'd love to have the black version, the cool version, right?
Of course.
And,
I mean, do you have a laptop or do you have like a
I have a laptop. Yeah, I have a Mac.
Okay, Mac
MacBook
is a little
Air.
bit more complicated, but we could set you up with
Oh,
like
yeah?
the PC version of the game. Nice.
Oh, you've got Carbon.
Wait, I got the right thing.
PS. There he goes. PS3.
There we go.
There you go. There you go.
I can't. I've been trying to find a Carbon. I mean, Most Wanted. I can't find them. There's actually a.
Have you tried eBay? Honestly?
Yeah, actually, eBay right now does have some copies.
Yeah, but I'm one of those old school guys that'd rather go into a store. One of those.
Yeah, that's hard though. That's really hard though. If you try to get into a store, it's super difficult.
Yeah, Adrian, there's a place on Granville, just north of Davie, that on it just on the left hand side as you're going north. There's a video game store this place is like a hole in the wall in the dingiest part of Granville that sells like vintage games in there. And I've actually went in there looking for Most Wanted, and I cannot find a copy. I just cannot find a copy. It's just,
I got a bunch of copies and I gave them as gifts to people. Yeah. So, and because I was like, hey, share the love, right? But there's one thing that I wanted to share that was kind of interesting based on Kuru's question is before I became a writer, I was thinking of becoming a cop, right? And I had been in the army, and after the army, I thought, oh, maybe I'll do policing and stuff like that. And then so some of my army buddies went on to be cops, and so I did a lot of volunteer work and all that. So when it came to Most Wanted, I already had sort of a history in police lingo and stuff. And then I talked to some of my police friends. But when the game came out, I let them play it. And one of the guys in particular, he's like, man, I actually started getting all like, it was almost as if it was so real listening to that radio chatter that you start getting your blood pressure going, right? Because in a chase, and I've been in cars doing volunteer work, and that's where some of that came from, that feeling, right? But there's a feeling that when you're driving somewhere, your lights are going and you hear that radio, that gets you start getting amped up, right? And when they played the game, they were like, man, we felt that. It was so, so cool. And to tell you the truth, cool. I've been doing this now for 16 years, I guess. And that was probably one of my most favorite memories of development, outside of some of the stuff that I had to deal with. But when it came to developing a game with a team, that was some of the most fun I ever had, was working on that title. I got to go do cool things, meet really cool people. I got to sit in on, it was just really, really fun. It was a lot of fun working on that project.
That's cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is cool. Wow.
It does get you going. The music and the dynamic lighting and all the smackables.
I got to go find a copy now. I have to go find a copy. Wow.
I can't believe they didn't give us one.
They did, but
they didn't give me one.
Because remember, Habib, Matthew my son was the first kid.
Yes, I remember that.
You remember he came to the studio and he was playing. He was the first one to play Most Wanted before he even hit the shelf. Actually, he gave you guys a little bit of feedback. You asked him, what did you think? Blah, blah, blah. And yeah, you guys made a little last minute tweak here and there before the game. But yeah.
It's Josie Moran playing it.
Yeah, I've never seen that picture before.
And Derek watching. That was the interactive station where we would find locations. engine.
That's cool.
Thank you so
That was
much.
most wanted. Yeah.
Join everybody. I have to head out. But
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you guys
exciting to
so,
see you guys,
so much.
to meet you, Kuru, and see Adrian after all this time.
Yeah, it's nice
Thank you,
seeing
Habib.
everybody and meeting you, Kuru. Yeah, I'm gonna check out. I'm just so blown away that it's still going so strong and people. It really is.
Huge.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that.
I mean, I
yeah.
was able to build a career on it 4 years ago, and it's still the same. You know, like 4 years later, people are still interested in the same in the same games.
Yeah.
Check out
that's awesome.
the mod version you're talking about.
Yeah, I'd love to stay in touch.
version.
Keep me in mind. Yeah.
Adrian, Simone has my digits. Let's try and get together, do some talking. Maybe spitball a script or so. You never
I'm
know.
working on a couple of things right now, actually.
If you need somebody to help you read them, I do that for Habib from time to time.
And Adrian, I always come back to Vancouver as well. So
Well, Simone she interviewed a friend of mine, Alex Sahara.
yeah, he's great. Love that guy.
Yeah. So
All right.
we
Well,
are connected by degrees, yeah. But
well, look, something special I think happened here. We're gonna go away to our separate corners, and we're gonna start thinking about stuff. Just remember, don't let it die. Let's reach out to each other. Let's figure this out. And what the hell?
I'm gonna stalk Kuru's stuff.
In
and see what I can
in the
do
word
what he's doing.
Sounds good. You can always hit me up, man.
I will. Okay.
In the words of Lawrence of Arabia, small things have great beginnings.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. What is it? Big things have small beginnings.
Yeah.
There you go. My head's already in football. So yeah, let's Adrian, let's hook up. Habib.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Yes, and I'd love to do one of these again, and also have you guys for individual interviews as well. But do you guys have any message for the fans before you head off?
Actually, there's one last minute question in the chat that I've seen over and over again. Maybe you can answer that before we end on it. You think otherwise we're going to have a lot of blue balls here. What is the backstory of the BMW, and how did the hero get it in the first place? Like, have you thought about like the pre-story, so to say, about like what happens before Most Wanted starts and how it all came together?
That's cool.
Habib, I have some info on that. Do you have any info on that, Habib?
Oh, that would be your court there.
Yeah, you know the way it worked initially was we wanted to create some high stakes for you to have something to get a taste of where you could actually get to in the game eventually with your car. So the idea was to give you something that when you have it, you're like, wow, this is going to be pretty, because we didn't want you to, here's a Toyota Corolla that's got nothing in it.
Yeah,
and
that was the idea.
Right.
We didn't want you to start with a Pinto and have to like work your way up and get bored. We wanted to just inject the drugs early. Yeah.
So to speak.
Yeah. So the idea too was like give the player a taste of what they could actually achieve eventually by having this car at the beginning that will take away from you and will have a reason for taking it away. Because actually a lot of thought went into it, because they're like, how do we give a player like a kick-ass car at the beginning? But then why do they want to continue? Why do they want to progress? So we found a narrative way to try to explain it. But they also wanted to do some emotional stakes. And for me, it's like you need to have something for a while before you're really pissed off after you lose it, right? So I would have wanted to have dragged that out a little longer so that you get to enjoy it longer and then have it taken away, right? But for obvious reasons, they had to shorten that period of time. But
man, that sounds like a push.
But as far as why the BMW, that was an executive level as to what exact car the player was going to have. There was a lot of thought. A lot of thought went into exactly what car the hero would have at the beginning and what car that would be on the cover and stuff like that.
Yeah, because Habib, you also said that the Nissan Skyline was an option, but you guys weren't sure if North American audiences were that hot on that car yet, because they hadn't really been exposed to it as much.
It wasn't as popular, and that Nuremberg video kind of spoke, did the job for what we wanted to. They made the most sense to have that car, and then the licensing negotiations happened, and that worked out. And then we were we were sending. I should dig up all kinds of designs. I post sometimes on my Instagram the early designs for the vinyl, and then BMW would say, "What is this kind of? You know, that's not how you paint a car." And then they'll send pictures of someone like actually hand painting a painting on the car, or you know, like having a pattern all over it, like a Louis Vuitton or some kind of repeated pattern. That's the European idea of how you paint a car. And they didn't know about the pinstripe thing. So, you know, luckily they okayed the one we ended up with, which I think is pretty iconic. And that was, you know,
it is.
We'll have maybe we can have the designer for that on one of these.
Yes.
Andrew Blackmore. Yeah.
Well, and also, there's so many interesting people. Like you were saying, there was a sound person, what was it, Charles Deenan, who had all these mics and would go around and get the exact sound for this exact car, you know, and calibrate that. And
overhaul of the audio.
That's amazing.
Anyway, Simone, I've got to hit the road.
Yes.
So, guys, it was great. It was wonderful.
Thank you, Dean.
We love you, Cross. We love you.
Do I have any messages for anybody out there? I don't know. You know, keep the faith. You never know. You know, today there's no chance of it, possibly. You know, a month from now, 6 months from now, Habib, Simone, Adrian, myself, you know, possibly with Kuru and LP could all be collaborating on the next Most Wanted 2. You know, stranger things have happened. You never know. So, you know, just let the guys know that you actually really want the game back. And I enjoy doing it. I know Simone did. And I wish you guys all the best. Love you all. And thank you so much for being my fan and fans of the franchise. And it is really appreciated and a heartfelt thank you. Okay, so.
Love you, Dean.
I love you guys too. Kuru, pleasure meeting you for the first time. Adrian, I expect to hear from you soon. Habib, this COVID, All right, guys.
All right, we'll see you on the next one.
We'll talk soon.
Yes.
Stay
sexy,
see you, Dean. Stay sexy.
Take care.
All right.
Bye, Simone.
You guys ready for one more question?
All right.
I have to head out.
I think Habib has to leave, but can Adrian answer it?
I
don't know. We're going to see.
I'll try to answer it.
Talk
Are you
soon.
gone? Are you gone, Habib?
Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Okay.
Thank you, Habib.
Lots of love.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one.
Yes. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, man.
Okay, so there's the question that I've also seen pop up. Why is Razor's Mustang appearing in the last cutscene? Because he obviously had the M3.
Yeah, you know what? I was trying to remember it. I mean, it appears in the last cutscene. He's got the M3. I can't remember. I'm going to look for the answer. I can't remember exactly why. I don't know if that was a development thing where we couldn't change it because it was already in, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't lose the car, right? Like he won the M3, so he still had the Mustang around. Maybe he just gave it to like one of his followers that was just driving around with it, and that's why it's still there in the final cutscene, because there's some people in the background, obviously, in the scene, like they could have driven Razor's old car.
Yeah, I don't know if it was because we specifically said, hey, let's bring it back because we spent so much time. It was sort of iconic at the beginning. Let's bring it back in. But I don't know. I'll find out. I'll see if I could find out from somebody exactly why that was in there. But yeah, technically you didn't lose it. So did Kuru freeze or?
No, I'm here. It's all good. I'm like, I was just reading the chat.
Stream froze.
He's just like,
I can be very stoic if I have to.
oh my God.
I was like, man, that answer was so cold that it just froze the screen.
It got me.
Adrian, is there anything that gamers don't know about the game that you might want to share they might find interesting?
Man. I don't even know where, like, I mean, I'm thinking, what could it be that hasn't been told? Or I have to give that some thought. Next time, round 2, I'll try to bring up some secret-y things.
Yeah, if you wanna hit me up, Adrian, you can ask Simone for my mail and all that stuff.
We'll do. Yeah, I'll do that for sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And I'd love to have you guys each on for an interview because I find what you do very, very interesting.
Absolutely.
Oh wait, it says here Kuru froze because I said he looks sexy.
Oh, that was it?
Gap,
so much shit going on.
Stargate. Gap Stargate.
Nice.
Is that just a yellow sort of ring light, or are you getting embarrassed, Kuru?
Just hot in this room, honestly.
He's like, I've only been sitting here for like 9 hours.
Actually 9 hours. 6 hours of stream, 3 hours of this interview. Sounds about right.
Wow. Since Underground 1 and 2 focused on races and customization, Adrian, do you choose to focus on the police in Most Wanted?
No, they planned before that what they were going to do is they were going to do the one that was focused on racing, and then they were going to do they were going to flip each production cycle from racing to Most Wanted. So it was Hot Pursuit, and they said we're going to do the next gen for Hot Pursuit, and we're going to call it Most Wanted. So as the one team was ramping off and completing Underground 2, they had already started contemplating Most Wanted. And we had comparisons to what the old Hot Pursuit looked like and what the new one looked like. What I really regret not keeping was Charles Deenan, the audio director that we heard his name earlier. He was the one who did all that. They captured all the real engine sounds and real cars and stuff like that in the real world. We would hook up. I was part of one of the times where they did all that. And the car gets covered in all sorts of mics, right? To get it, to get the engine clean, to get the engine exhaust, to get the engine near the rear, near the front, get the wheel noise and stuff like that. So when you see this car coming down the road, it looks, and they used to do that in LA at one of the old Marine Air Force or Marine air bases, that the runway was closed down. So they would just run the cars back and forth on that. But then we needed to capture a car that was in the game, but they didn't have access to it at the time. So we found one, it was the Porsche GT. We found one in Vancouver, and we rigged it up and ran it up and down a mountain road on one of the local ski hills in the summer to try to get the sound into the game last minute because we hadn't had an opportunity to do that. Yeah.
So specific. That's cool.
That car, that's a car that unfortunately, sadly, was part of the last car that Paul Walker was in, right? And I remember the owner of that car, when he agreed to let us record the sound of that car, he told us that car is unforgiving, right? It's like rear wheel drive. It's a lot of power, super light car. And he even said that one time he was in a curb lane trying to get around another car, and he was at a red light. He was driving it around town, and he just gave it a little bit of gas. And if you don't know what you're doing with that car, it's brutally dangerous.
Yikes. Wow.
Yeah. Anyhow, so that's my happy ending story.
We need a unicorn chaser. And on a positive note. I have a positive note. I just want to say I love this of you, Kuru. This is so great. Okay. Because I did watch your show, right? And I just love this moment. You're like, I'm going to dab across the finish line.
That was actually fairly recently.
I know. Well, I had to be up, on what. Yeah,
someone was like, still owed them a dab, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna dab the moment I run over the finish line, because I was doing a speed run right now, so trying to beat the game as fast as possible. Yeah. And while you finish, there's a little bit of a cutscene going on where I can do this without losing actual time doing the speed run.
It's so dope. I love it.
The look is great on that one.
Oh my god, that cracks me up. I saw you did one when you made a drinking game out of it too. You got quite drunk, I think.
Yeah, that was fun.
Drinking your red martini, which I've never seen anyone drink before. I was like, what?
You never had a red martini?
No, I didn't know that's
really
a thing.
Good. It's really good.
Speaking of
drinking, they use blood orange in it. It's just like regular martini, but like a bunch of citrus fruits. But I think it's mostly blood orange. It's really good. 100% recommendation from my side. So what's your favorite poison then?
Go ahead, Simone.
Oh, me. I like beer and red wine. separately, obviously.
I
And
was
then
about to say nice combination.
and then I also like Prosecco or champagne, like pink champagne or Prosecco. Yeah, I mean that's a special occasion thing, but yeah, that's pretty much what I like. How about you, Adrian?
I mean, I will literally drink anything, but and I think that's from the days of army and hockey and all that kind of stuff. But it's Hemingway's Tears, right? Hemingway's Tears were known to be Scotch, so I drink Scotch. I've been on a big tequila kick lately. Good tequila, though, not like. And I didn't know good tequila existed, but apparently good tequila does exist out there, and I had found it. You just gotta, So I've been on that kick for a while, but
yeah.
But
the super good tequila though is expensive.
Yeah. I was actually going to say this. We were talking earlier, and then Kuru said he's actually did one where he was drinking and playing. I was in Amsterdam one time working for Guerrilla Games, and somebody there said, "Hey, do you want to do this interview?" It was called Red Light Radio. And the studio was in the red light district, and part of the interview was going through some of the stuff that you had done, but you'd also drink beer and you would sort of do a taste testing of the beer, the local beers. And that was like one of the more fun ones, but it was interesting because it's in the middle of red light district. So I had to walk into the red light district, and I'd never been there before. It was my first time in Amsterdam. I'd never been to the red light district, and it was kind of like a culture shock for me, right? Because it's not legal, like that area wasn't legal anywhere else in the world, right? As far as coming from North America. And so I'm trucking through the red light district, and I just felt so dirty. And there was all these dudes walking around that were kind of like weird looking. And then there was also like touristy people that wanted to see what it's like in the red light district. And you're walking by these windows with people and like women in them. And then I got to the radio station, and the radio station was in one of the old brothels that had gone out of business. So they took it over and put the radio station in it. So in that window was the studio set up for the interview. So you'd sit there and there was a red light on, and you'd drink beer and do the interview. And so while we're doing the interview, we would just have these men walking by and do like double takes because they were accustomed to seeing women in all the windows. And then all of a sudden there's just two dudes sitting in a window.
And they'd be like,
they're like, what are these guys doing? But yeah, that was a fun thing. That was a fun interview where you have taste tester of some of the local beers in Amsterdam. So
Amsterdam is a wild, wild place.
Yeah. I haven't been there in a while, but hopefully soon.
Yeah. Kuru, have you traveled around all of Europe?
A little bit. Let's see. Hungary, Italy, Switzerland,
France,
Germany. Actually, France is still on my list.
You've never been to France? How's that possible?
I don't know. It just didn't happen yet.
You're like, it just doesn't have the architecture.
Amsterdam.
No, just kidding.
I mean, now we're just gonna wait until we get vaccinated. And I don't know how it is in your place right now, but we are like on a waiting list right now. Basically, they're gonna tell us whenever we get vaccinated, and then hopefully things are gonna improve when, like, I don't know, 50% of the people are vaccinated. We're gonna see.
Yeah.
How it goes.
Yeah, I hope to be traveling soon. I just saw somebody, Tor, Sweden, just wrote Sweden. I don't know if Tor's from Sweden or they just wanted to say Sweden, but
he's just happy that Sweden was mentioned.
Yeah,
maybe he's from Sweden.
Yeah, I do. I used to go to Sweden a lot. It started with work, and then I just started going there because I liked it, and did a lot of work with DICE. Now I'm working with another group with a studio called Embark. There are a whole bunch of ex-DICE people, but Vienna. You're in Vienna, right, Turo?
Yeah.
You said, yeah.
Can we come visit you?
Absolutely.
I was there, man. I was there for. I was visiting a friend in Slovenia, and was it Slovenia or Chile? I can't remember now. But Vienna, what I do remember is I was blown away. They were redoing the whole city and making it like redoing all the buildings and stuff. It really felt you were back 500 years ago. They just keep the look. They just restore everything, and they just keep the look. It's amazing. It looks fantastic. I know. It was. I had such a good time there. I only spent a couple days there, but I regret it. I wanted to go back for sure. One of these days I'll be able to go back. Yeah.
Awesome. I actually found a game question in the chat here. So I'm not sure if you remember this. There's supposed to be Charlie's plot in the main game. He was a cut character that was going to give you the cash grab races. So we're basically racing around the world map, picking up cash, and whoever got the most cash in a certain time window won the event. And the only remains of him in the game is some speech of the Spanish release. Do you know anything about this?
No, I don't remember. That's another question. I don't remember Charlie. Like, I don't remember that. Yeah.
You got that one before.
Yeah, I don't. I have to think
Put
about
it in
that.
private chat in case you want to read up what I just said.
Right.
Hmm.
Let's see.
Interesting.
Charlie the cut character. I don't remember.
Because modders actually have restored that game mode, Cash Grab. I played before. It was literally just you started somewhere on the world map. It was basically you get dropped, and then you were driving around picking up cash signs, and whoever picked up the most cash won the event. So that was like one of the event types that were most wanted, but did not make it to the final release.
Yeah. You know, I don't remember specifically about that one, but what I can say is sometimes they'll come to you and say, "Hey, look, we're putting in another feature. We're going to need a character. Come up with a character."
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just last moment. You know, give us we want this feature. Give us a narrative reason to have it. Come up with something.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not related to the main plot, or sometimes it's a last minute thing. And I'm not even sure. I can't remember actually. They did such a good job cutting it that I can't remember.
Adrian, question for you. What are you watching?
What am I watching or doing?
No, watching during the pandemic.
Oh,
actually, you're right. It is what you're doing. I thought someone said, "What are you watching?" Oh, what are you doing?
I'm binging a lot of television. I'm actually working with on Homeworld 3 right now.
Are you allowed to say that?
Yeah, I'm allowed to. It's
Okay.
been announced and stuff like that.
We
Cut the
we
stream,
don't want
delete
the lawyers.
everything.
Yeah, right. Oh no, that'd be the worst.
Yeah, no, that's been the trailers come out for that and stuff like that. And then I'm working with some Swedish dudes at Embark in Stockholm. That's just ramping up and stuff. So luckily, you know, I've been quite busy actually during the pandemic.
Nice.
I just haven't had a chance to travel, but
Yeah,
usually I travel quite a lot, but
I know. I'm fantasizing about traveling.
Adrian, you also worked on Carbon, right?
no, I didn't work on
No, you
Carbon.
didn't. Ah,
No,
okay.
no.
So the Darius question is not gonna help you.
No, I did not work on Carbon. I worked on
okay.
Yeah, you were OG Need for Speed, and then Underground 2, yeah?
I started off just as doing a very small portion of Underground 2 near the end of release. They realized they had some gaps that they wanted closed, so I came in as a contractor. After Underground 2, they said, "Do you want to come on board as full-time staff on our next project? Our next project is Most Wanted." And so I said, "Yeah, for sure." And so that was a 2-year development cycle. And then during that time, there were some questions people asked about other stuff. During that time, because I was the internal writer, I got to see a lot of things that EA was doing. And I also was able to put my hands on new IP ideas. So I'd be part of those things. And after I rolled off of Most Wanted, the Carbon team they were putting together the Carbon team. I didn't go on to that team. I actually worked with a guy called Nilo Rodis, and he was an art director, and he producer and stuff. He worked originally on the original Star Wars and stuff, and worked with him. He came to me and he said, "Hey, I'm working with Criterion in the UK on a game coming out called Black. Can you have a look at our script for us?" And so I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll look at it." And I wonder if I'm allowed to say, I guess I could say this. He brought me a script, and it was like 300 pages long, and they're like, "We need to get this down to half an hour." And I said,
Like 30 pages.
Yeah. And he said, are you interested? And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm totally interested in it." And then he said, "You have 5 days."
No.
Yeah. So I took
Better get it working.
Yeah. So I took the 300 pages and got it down to about 35 or 40 pages in 5 days. Yeah.
So it's like you're making a short film out of a feature.
Yeah. And the guy who directed it was one of the second unit directors from the show called 24.
Oh, yes. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Just looking
Yeah, I
at
saw
some
an
of these-
interview that you did, or not an interview, you did there's a great YouTube video of you doing a talk.
Oh, let's not talk about that.
Oh,
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
fine. Yeah. It was a talk I did. It was at a game thing. Sorry, it was at a game thing in Minsk, which was kind of interesting. Yeah.
but what was interesting about that when you spoke about Black, which is the one you were just talking about, is you said, you know, there were some budgetary constraints, right?
Right. Yeah. We could. We
Yeah.
could talk about that. Yeah.
Okay. And, you know, they were trying to film it very quickly. Also, the director was limited to how much time he had with the video game. So he did a really crafty thing of filming the actors where you kind of don't see their mouth move. So that way you can put all the vocals
Yeah.
over top and not have to match the mouth movement. And all
Yeah.
that.
What I heard, I wasn't
It's
there.
really smart.
Yeah, they shot it in LA, and I think they shot it all in one day. And
Wow.
they had an issue with syncing dialogue during the shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So then the director decided that they were going to do a lot of inserts and close-ups that were omitting some of the lips because they didn't have the audio equipment crapped out on them or something. I can't remember exactly why the details, but that's sort of why that style also came about. Was for production pragmatic reasons and the budget they had. They had a budget that they had to lean out and make it work, and that's why they came up doing it the way they did.
Yeah, well, that's wild. And then you work on, you know, games like Battlefield, which is just so gorgeous. Like I was, you know, because I don't have a gaming console, so I'm not like playing, but I looked up like what it looks like, and I was like, holy crap, that's amazing.
Yeah, the tech's come a long way. Like that one group I'm working with now, I mean, with the Unreal Engine and stuff. And I'm not a tech guy. Like, I mean, I don't do any programming or anything like that. I get to see some of that stuff and get into it for other reasons. But some of the stuff that they're doing now, it's on a couple of these projects, you can't even tell it's game engine. That's so crazy. It looks real world. Yeah. Check them out. They're called Embark.
Sweet.
Embark, yeah, in Sweden.
Yeah, it was cool because I was doing some performance capture on a video game that never got made in the rendition that we shot. And unfortunately, I don't know if I'm still, I don't know how long the NDA goes, if I'm still, after all these years, still under NDA, but you would all know the title because it's a very famous franchise. But I was cast as the lead in this awesome kick-ass game. And I got to work with two directors. One of the directors did Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and then the other director was a person from Japan. And it was so cool because they had basically these ocular readers on my eyes. So even when I look anywhere, there's, I guess, veins where like they can tell which way your eyes are looking. It's so crazy. Yeah.
What year was that?
Oh, you're trying to do the math. Well, oh God, it was my very first gig when I moved to Los Angeles from Canada. And so it must have been around 2012 was when we were working on it. But then of course, what happened was they weren't happy with the script. Even though like I thought we were good to go. We were already cast, we were already inputting our bodies into the computer, the whole thing. And we were working with the directors, you know, like the guy flew in from Japan and then we had the Grand Theft Auto guy, whatever. And it was like, I was so blessed because I was like, this is going to be huge for me as an actor. Like, this is going to like be bigger maybe than, you know, other video games I've done or who knows. And then they had problems with the script and they're like, I was like, are we still doing this? And they're like, yeah, you're still cast. It's still going to go. We're just, you know, waiting for a revision. And then a year would go by. I'm like, are we still doing this? They're like, oh yeah, totally. We're still doing it. Just, you know, stand by. And then another year went by and I was like, what is up, you guys? Like, I'm so stoked on this thing. I can't talk about it, you know, whatever. And then I just like, none of us worked on it. Not even the directors. worked on it, and they totally repackaged the whole concept and have already released the 7th. It was the 7th installment of a very famous thing.
Yeah. I worked on a game like that
sucked.
too, where it was a huge IP.
Yeah.
And right before release, they got the parties didn't agree, so they rewrapped the whole game, called it something else, and I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about that. But yeah.
Yeah,
that's how that happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Would have been huge.
I'm gonna have to run soon too.
Yes, I'm gonna close out because you guys, I've had you for much longer than I said I would. But you know, like I say, you guys are welcome to come back, and I would love to sidebar with you about interview with each of you too.
Yeah,
cool.
I'd love to do that. I've had a lot of fun. It was great meeting everybody and seeing everybody again, and I'm totally down with it. I didn't even realize it was that long.
I know, it's funny because like when I first talk to people and I'm like, oh, it's probably a couple hours, they're like, ooh, you know, like that sounds like so long. But then when you're on it, you don't even realize because you're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
Yep. Very used to it too. Like when you come from a streaming background, it's exactly the same. Maybe even a little bit more relaxed, but because I don't have to play a game in the meantime.
Yeah.
So yeah, as I said, just hanging out and talking.
Yeah. Next time I'll have well, I mean, if it's at noon, I guess I could be having a drink by then. I'll have a drink next time.
Well, I think I'll have to change the time because I got flack from some of the fans. They're like, do you realize it's 2 a.m. where I am? I'm like, dude, there's over 25 countries. I can't like coordinate, you know, I'll try my best though. And thank you guys for watching.
I mean, the time slot that you've
on.
chosen now was pretty good because you're gonna cover the entirety of Europe and the US. And that is probably most of your audience anyways.
Yeah. Well, it's been awesome. Yeah, I look forward to it. I'm happy to do it again. And Kuru, I'll hit you up, man.
Absolutely. Very, very much so. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. I'm going to do a spiel. You're welcome to stay or leave for my little spiel here. Up to you. All right. Well, that wraps up our awesome show for today. Please be sure and hit that like button and subscribe to my channel and share this stream so others can enjoy this content as well. Special thanks to our incredible panel, Dean McKenzie, Adrian Vershinin, Habib Zargarpour, LP-Ripper 24, and the boss, KuruHS.
Thanks for that.
Thank you so much for being here to talk about Most Wanted. I know the fans are very excited to see you. It was really great having everyone here. For the fans, if you would like to stay connected, I've put everyone's links in the description box below. Also, if you want autographed headshots, video shout-outs, or a one-on-one friend date with me on Zoom, Valentine's Day is coming up, you guys. You can find me on Jemmy, which is just like Cameo. You can find me on jemmy.app/Simone Bailey. That link is down below as well. Thank you all for joining us today. If you want more Need for Speed content, please check out my other Need for Speed videos and actor interviews. You can find those vids and more on my channel. And I have other videos coming soon, so please subscribe so you'll be the first to know. We hope you stay healthy and safe. Keep the faith. Till next time, drive safely, be kind to one another, and keep playing Need for Speed. Take care, everyone. Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yay.